Howdy, mateys and scrub the deck. As always, I'm Julian Mush, and welcome to another Small Screen Star Wars. Rachel Wilkinson joins me today.
Again,
You're never ready, because, I'm trying to always think of new piratey things to say when we start these episodes. And the reason that we're doing that is because we are talking about Skeleton Crew. Star Wars : Skeleton Crew. The pirate show with a really great pirate theme. If you guys really got to listen to the full, like all of the credits, so you get the bum 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 ba-dum bum bum ba-dum bum, because you don't really get that in the regular show, like little hints of it, like some leitmotifs, but you get the full thing in the full extended credits sequence at the end of each episode. And I listen to it every week because I just think it's so jaunty. It's a good tune. Yeah. It's really up there with like classic pirate music from like, Pirates of the Caribbean and Treasure Island, etc. Really, Treasure Island, I feel like that's the one that has like the main piratey theme that we think of, but especially Muppets Treasure Island, which again, I really encourage people to. I feel like it has the closest tone for what we're dealing with here. Okay, so before we get into our full breakdown on Season 1, Episode 5, titled You Have a Lot to Learn About Pirates, just a little bit of housekeeping. Again, just a reminder, maybe you haven't been listening, maybe you're new here. You're thinking, well, they must be on Twitter. You're right, we are, but we're not. We're just parking it there because we're really migrating over to the new hotness that is Blue Sky. So just search for Tower Babble Podcast on Blue Sky. You'll find us. TowerBabble.ca is our handle. Yeah, it's good. I every once in a while I'll poke my head over to Twitter, and it continues to be just the most. It actually gets worse, I feel like, every time I look over there. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's the thing. These apps, that if you don't use them long enough, they start sending you like nudges, like, "Hey, you should check out this thing or that thing." And it's like, I didn't ask for these notifications. Notify me when I get someone messages me or something. Yeah, it's like, no, it's just like, hey, check out this cool story. I'm like, I didn't ask for this. Especially because like I used to be in it all the time and I never got those, and now I stopped using it, and it's like, hey, come back. Yeah. So I went and tried to turn off as many notifications as I could without turning off like the important ones. Also, we need to talk about we're just after Christmas, Boxing Day. For some, not everyone calls that. Second day of Hanukkah today. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Boxing Day is a weird thing because a lot of people go shopping, but like the deals aren't that good.
Yeah, that's fine. I feel like I like the Black Friday.
Yeah.
Get the Cyber Monday.
Well, the whole thing with Black Friday is like you're gonna get good deals and the idea for good deals is stolen from the U.S. Yeah. And when the Boxing Day stuff isn't really done in the U.S., It's more of like a UK, Canada, Australia like thing. Uh, and like again, you guys can't like you get one day all the malls closed and you have to go all back to the mall the next day. It's kind of sad. That's true, which is good because like I don't who wants to be out on this like today's a beautiful day right at freezing. Good for outdoor winter activities. Did a little skate today, which is good and healthy. Which is a super normal thing that everyone does.
We do Boxing Day for Christmas.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever.
No one's blowing half a hand or anything,
Well,
a finger.
he lights it with a rope flare, I see, and then
That seems
it's not.
safer than not
Yeah.
than like trying to light it with a lighter.
They're not like super. Like there's a few that other ones can go up. The rest of them are
Sometimes people light off fireworks in the field behind my place, and I hate it. I want to run out there with a broom saying, "Get off my lawn!" Yeah, yeah, exactly. Did you have a good Christmas though? You get any Star Wars related goods, merch? Okay. Why? Why would anyone make that? Is the question.
I don't know. Yeah.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh huh. I got no Star Wars stuff at all this year. And yeah, it was pretty overall pretty low key Christmas
Yeah.
at the Mush household. Um, yeah, I guess it was mostly just like not great. So, you know, no Star Wars stuff. But I usually get myself a few Christmas gifts that are Star Wars related. Usually, I buy myself at least one Black Series. I still have one that I haven't opened yet, but I'm waiting for or season 2 or Ahsoka season 2 to open it. It's one of the what's it called droids, the like assassin droids.
Oh, fine.
Yeah. Because again, little known fact about my Black Series collection methodology. I prefer no human faces. Human faces always look dumb. They have gotten better. Have you seen the new Anakin sculpt from episode 2, I believe? Pretty accurate. It's got his pouty lips down pretty good. But again, it's like it just looks weird because it's like, oh, they're supposed to be wearing clothes, but they've got these like weird like joints on their elbows, and it's like it doesn't look right. But when they're wearing helmets and armor, it looks like they look normal. So I just go with clone troopers. Clone troopers are my favorite. Any clone trooper is a win. I have a few choice ones. I won't get into all of it here. I usually get excited about it, but next year or maybe later this year when I have a job, I'll buy myself as a gift some Black Series or something Star Wars related. But no new shirts or anything. In fact, I'm just wearing a boring old green, Star Wars Christmas sweater. All I wanted for Christmas is an R2D2. Yeah, wearing a Santa hat. Does that mean Santa's real and Santa in? No, can't think about it that much. I did get a nice new Christmas sweater, but it just has my dog and it says Merry Winstmas on it. Yeah. Anyway, happy Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah to all who are, or if you're a non-denominational winter solstice, perhaps. It's a really funny, yeah. Uh, yeah. What's a Yule anyway? A log, log. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. Log. It's better than bad. It's good. You know what that's from?
Okay, Yule isn't.
It's not a log, but there is a Yule log.
Yeah, that's like Yule. It isn't even U. Like why do you say?
Yule. Yule.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm not saying it is a type of wood. I'm just saying that it's definitely a log that people. I think of when I first hear the word Yule, next word I think is log.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's a cake. It's like a Lincoln log. You're thinking like a Lincoln log, and that's a different thing. Ask anyway. And then also, since we're in the holiday season, and I was really worried this was going to happen, but in the heart of hearts, I knew. Oh, it's a weird looking, gross looking cake. Okay, got it. I don't really like. I prefer I prefer pie over cake. Um, which I know is a controversial opinion, but like I think on average most cakes are bad and most pies are good. The best cake could be better than the best pie, but how often are you having the best of either? You know, like a decent pie with some like apple pie with some you know vanilla ice cream a la mode as they call it in the mode. I don't know why. Anyway, the French are weird, but like that's pretty good. You know, just on its own. Anyway, since we're in the holiday season, I was worried this was going to happen, which is that we announced a holiday movie for our film club. We didn't record it in time, but that's okay. Holiday movies can be watched at any time of the year, especially over winter. But that movie is The Family Man, and I did watch it. We haven't recorded with Jeremy yet, but I will say, delightful Christmas movie. The energy that he brings to the movie is kind of perfect because it's like this real like, and we're talking about Nicolas Cage here, obviously, but he's bringing this like confused, right? It's like I'm like, he's like, what's going on? I don't understand what's going on. Especially the beginning when he's like, when he gets the switch, and he's like, because I'm the president, and he like points at the board, and it's not him, and it's so funny. But the other thing that stands out to me is that he's supposed to be like 30 something in the movie, and he looks so much older than any 30-year-old I know, or me, a 30-year-old. But that was just back then. Like 30-year-olds just looked older. Yeah, and they also had like a 4-bedroom home.
Well, yeah.
On like on the salary of a tire salesman and a pro bono lawyer.
Yeah.
So really fantasy, a real fantasy situation. Did you hear about how someone came out and talked about I think the director or writer of Home Alone about how they could afford the house? The mom, yeah, like she's like a famous designer, fashion designer, and like the. Yeah, yeah. Okay, he's not a mob guy or whatever. Yeah, that's funny. Okay. The only thing I have for news is StarWars.com put out this year in review. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'm literally just going to read most of these so that you, the listener, can just think back for a second about the year that Star Wars had. Because you might be thinking, this wasn't that big of a year, and you're mostly right. But we start with this. The Mandalorian and Grogu, right, I really mumbled through that one. The Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka 2 are announced. That's the first thing on the list. So we have something to look forward to for next year. Yes, the correct. And Ahsoka 2, the TV series, which I think is going to get like, if they've learned any lessons from season 1 and any of the mess that's going on right now, I think Ahsoka 2 has the potential to be very, very good. Because they just need to work on a little bit of the action, which was pretty stale in Ahsoka season 1. I don't love to give the Phantom Menace people a lot of credit, but they were pretty funny when it was like when they were all like blocking laser blasts or whatever on like they were walking backwards up that staircase, and it's like so stilted and slow and lame looking. It's like, is this supposed to be exciting? Like I don't get it. So, yeah, props to the mean people for that one. Skeleton Crew is taking us on a new adventure. I feel like that's weird to put it right at the top, considering it's happening now, and it's also going to extend into 2025, but whatever. The Acolyte brought the High Republic era to live action. Odd that they don't mention that it was not renewed, but it was pretty good. It'll gain steam over time, and maybe a second season will happen in like the future. The Acolyte brought the High Republic. I said that already. The series finale of Star Wars: The Bad Batch gave Clone Force 99 right at the beginning of the year in January. It was more of a last year thing, but the final season rolled over into 2025. So they'll get to double dip with Skeleton Crew next year. Yeah. The Bad Batch, I watched the on YouTube. I was reading about the Bad Batch because I had some tabs left open from the Bad Batch from a year ago. Because I just leave tabs open for years at a time. And yeah, but it's okay because the new Chrome puts them to sleep, so it's like they're not really doing anything. But anyway, so I went back, was reading them, and I was reading about the finale, and I was getting all like my heart was breaking for the actors and the characters and stuff. So I went back and watched the final like showdown with like on the bridge in the rain. And, like, trust her, and like when she like stabs him in the leg and then puts the binders up and shoots it's so badass. I really can't express enough how cool the Bad Batch was. And we're now at the end of 2024, and we don't know what the next animation project is from Lucasfilm Animation. I mean, they're probably working on the next Tales of whatever, right? Right, because that's the next thing on here. Star Wars Tales of the Empire drops, which was cool, but not nearly as cool as the Bad Batch, in my opinion. Like the anthology stuff is fine, but I just like something a little bit meatier. You can spend a little sink our teeth into and spend a little more time on. But it was fun to see a lot of some characters that we've never seen in animation brought to animation. Yeah, she's still out there potentially. Spoilers, I guess, and also like getting the Gen 3 clone design in, which is short-lived and not very common, but one of my favorites. And then this is a weird one to put on the list. Star Wars Imperial March put Empire State Building over New York City skyline. For one night this past spring, the iconic Empire State Building hosted a dynamic light show to kick off Imperial March, a celebration of Star Wars villainy through toys, collectibles, and more leading up to May the 4th. So, which includes, by the way, Lego Star Wars Rebuilding the Galaxy and the official introduction of Darth Jar Jar. Yeah, it's just a Lego thing. It's pretty funny. It's just funny that they're like, "Hey, we know about your weird fan theories. Don't think." Yeah, we're reading your dumb fan fiction. Yeah, and they're like, lay off the horniness a little bit, just a little. Like, we beg you, we beg you. And then this last one, actually a couple more here. The Ghost Crew and their ardent fans celebrate 10th anniversary of Star Wars. Can you believe it's been 10 years? It's wild. And celebrated 25th anniversary of Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. It was re-released in theaters, and we didn't get a version of it here. Womp womp. So we didn't get to see it again, and I would have gone for sure because I don't remember seeing Episode 1 in theaters. Really, what year 2000? I would have been there. I just don't really like recall the event. Hold on, I think my camera's crooked. There it is. Okay. It also got a sick new like 25th anniversary poster made by the same guy who did the Empire Strikes Back poster behind me. I also have the Return of the Jedi one, but I haven't mounted it yet. I've been waiting for the right time and occasion, and so that'll happen soon, I think. Anyway, Star Wars Outlaws came out this year. I have yet to play it. I want to finish Jedi Fallen or Jedi Survivor. Yeah. This is lame. Ahsoka, The Mandalorian, and Cassian Andor join Star Tours. Who gives a shit? I'm just kidding. I just don't care about the parks. And I know there's people who only care about the parks, but no, it doesn't. It's too expensive and too far away. That's it. Yeah. Music by John Williams was a documentary released on Disney Plus about obviously John Williams. I have also not seen it, but I would like to. It seems pretty nice. And then they talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's happening in the books, which I don't really know about, and that's it. So, a little bit of good, a little bit of bad. Not as busy as you maybe could be, but we're gearing into a big year next year. I'm expecting an announcement on animation next year. We're obviously getting a movie next year. Actually 6 months, probably, not even maybe. Or is it 2026? I feel like we go back and forth on this. DeLorean and Grogu release date. So you're just always sick, hey? I'm just. Okay. It's not this year. Okay, yeah, it's May 22nd, 2026, and that really is a bummer. So yeah, no movie again next year. So there better be an animation project because this will be the first year then that we would have never, because we only got the tail end of the Bad Batch and the Tales of the Empire. So that means Visions season 3 is coming, but that's again kind of different, not from Lucasfilm Animation. But we don't have any dates for, or even know what they're doing next. We suspected there could be a Omega spinoff, right? Or there could have been what's her name? That Jedi assassin. What the heck is her name? She made an appearance, cameo. They thought it was a backdoor pilot in the Bad Batch. Asajj Ventress. There might be a Asajj Ventress spinoff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to still do. I mean, if they really wanted to be bold, they might escape the the post Clone Wars era altogether, and jump forward into like the Resistance era. That would require a lot of new assets, which I think is why they generally don't do that. They kind of layer in assets over time. They can reuse old stuff, add in new stuff. Yeah, they did. But that was also not, I don't know if that was Lucasfilm Animation either. But yeah, no, that was also very different in style. You need to drink more water. Anyway. Yeah, that's bad for you. Bad for you. I don't really like outdoor winter bonfires, to be clear. I just think it's not warm enough to feel comfortable, and it's also like you need to constantly like warm up your butt because it's not in front of the fire. You know?
Well, we have a fire because it's lower.
Right. Okay. You got it. You need something to keep you warm. Do you use a half a barrel as a fire pit? Because that's what I wanted for a long time. Just like cut a barrel in half and use that as a fire pit. Oh. Oh shit. Oh, okay. Well, have you? What do you think of those smokeless fireplaces or fire pits? Are you aware of those? They look like those they look like they're made out of like chrome. They look like a muffler. It does, but like if it's true, I'm interesting. No, it looks like a big giant car muffler. I don't know. I assume it like burns in such a way that it doesn't create smoke. Anyway, if you know, towerbabblepodcast@gmail.com. We want to know more about these smokeless fire pits. Yeah, it's skeet us, okay? Please. Yeah. Skeet. Anyway, let's get into our overall thoughts on Skeleton Crew Season 1, Episode 5. You have a lot to learn about pirates. I am digging these long titles. I just think they're like very fun. Yeah, well, it's easy. Yeah. And you can do the Leo meme where he sits out of his chair and points at the TV. Yeah. Okay, so this is directed by Jake Schreier. Jake Schreier is mostly known for having done music videos. He did Kanye West Fellow God, Kanye West Closed on Sunday, Justin Bieber and Benny Blanco Lonely, Chance the Rapper's Magnificent Colored World. But then in 2021-ish, he branched out into television. He did an episode of Dave. He did the TV miniseries, 2 episodes of Brand New Cherry Flavor. The Premise in 2021. Also, he's a busy guy in 2021. And then Minx, did an episode of that. Short film called We Cry Together. And then the 6 episodes of a show that I really liked last year from Netflix, Beef. So funny. And I think there's like a little bit of beefiness in this episode, to be honest. Yeah. And then the most recent on here is his 1 episode of Skeleton Crew. So he's coming up in the world. And he's kind of got a bit of Jonathan or Christopher Nolan look-alike situation and vibe going on here. Wearing a suit on set, carrying around the little lens on a stick. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not disparaging him. He seems like a great guy. Great director of the stuff that I've seen him do. Written by Myang John Wesner and Christopher Ford and John Watts. The long line is as follows. A seemingly pleasant world will test our heroes like no other. And why don't you let us in on what you thought of this episode, Rachel? Is it your favorite? Is it your new favorite? long, which I like. 44 minutes. Yeah.
So there's a good. I love pirate flick.
Mm-hmm.
I love booby traps.
Yeah, gotta love that.
Like Indiana Jones, Harry Potter, all those.
The one thing I haven't talked about enough about with pirates is Uncharted 4, which is easily it's either 1 or 2 or like 1A 1B with Uncharted 2. I don't know if you're familiar with the Uncharted stuff, not the crappy Tom Holland movie. It's it's a perfect movie for an airplane. Did you like the part where spoilers, Antonio Banderas gets stabbed in the chest and there's not a drop of blood? Anyway, oh no, he's not stabbed in the chest. His throat is slit and there's still no blood. It's so crazy. Anyway, that movie's wild. It's got some good ideas, but it's mostly like it doesn't really get it. Anyway, Uncharted 4 does get it. And it's a whole pirate adventure. They go find to Libertalia, which is this like lost pirate island, and they find booby trap treasure and all sorts of stuff. It's like it has a lot of it shares a lot with Skeleton Crew, down to like pulling the sword out of the skeleton, and stuff like there's being like a hidden booty, and it's like you sacrifice the pirate sacrificed himself to protect it from anyone else, right? Yeah, a little riddle. Oh, nothing better than a riddle. Yeah. I mean, I keep coming back to this, but I just can't get over how well the pirate thing translates to Star Wars. It's like it should have been obvious, but like the pirate stuff, yes, but the pirate stuff with Hondo specifically, who's kind of been like the pirate like lead, I always found him annoying. And yeah, mostly. And it's like I just don't feel like they. Yes, he wore the hat and he was like a little swashbuckling, but he was mostly there for comic relief. And in general, I think that like bounty hunters get a lot of time and energy in Star Wars, but pirates are just looked at as kind of like, you know, they come and rob your ship and then leave, whatever. Because they're unpredictable. Yeah. And some might think, wait a minute, didn't we get pirates in Mando season 3? And you're right, we did, but they weren't fun like these ones were. We got Vane, and he was mostly just a jerk. And like there was a shootout in the street, and they're like blasting a city apart. It's like, yeah, I mean, obviously pirates can be both scary and fun. It depends on how. It's like how Batman can both be like super serious or super silly. I don't need pirates to be silly all the time to work, but I will say this: I prefer this version of pirates over the like more serious versions we've gotten in the past, and like down to like even the stuff like them yelling "Silvo," like like that kind of stuff gets me. So anyway, I think this is a fun episode. Overall, I feel like if you like The Last Jedi, specifically the Canto Bite stuff, I think you'll like this episode. This is like a Canto Bite coded whole thing, like with the opulence of the spa and all the different like you could pause it in a million different places and see a little bunch of different visual Easter eggs, right? Which again we didn't really do, and we're not really going to have time to get into all those today. But I'm sure Screen Crush will, and I'll just report on those next week. Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Remember Andor had even like when they had like the room full of like antiquities or whatever. All sorts of stuff. Oh yeah, right, the crystal skull. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And, well, was that Solo? I thought that was Andor had a holocron in it. Oh. Well, yeah. Either way, it's like I think there was both Jedi and Sith holocrons. There's a bunch of different things that we've seen. Yeah, but like, yeah, you're right. That's all good. I'm just saying, like, I think people get annoyed with the Canto Bite stuff from Last Jedi because it feels like disengaged from the plot. But the thing that's so good about the Canto Bight stuff for me is that it's like shines a light on this, like, again, this side of Star Wars that we really get to see, which is like the rich, the uppity rich people on their yachts and like living their best life, right? While everyone else is struggling in the galaxy. And then, you get the added bonus of having, DJ and what's his name? Benicio del Toro, his great performance with his little stutter, which he always has a little thing, but like it's good. And the, trying to teach them a lesson about how like there's no good guys and bad guys, just people making money off the war, right? It's like, oh, you thought these people were selling stuff to the bad guys? Well, they're also selling stuff to you. So what does that mean, right? You know, they blow you up today, maybe you blow them up tomorrow. That's what DJ says in that. So it's like a little bit of, I feel like you get a little bit of that flavor in this episode. I really enjoy that. And also a bit of the silliness too, because a great part of that is when they run through the streets with their, whatever those things are called, the horse dog things. Remember? Yeah. Yeah, The Last Jedi. They like, you get to see like all the stuff like exploding and like all the different aliens, and so you get a lot of that like wackiness here too. Right. Yes. Right, because it's also like The Last Crusade, right? It's like, which of these chalices would Jesus have used or whatever? And it's like, well, he was the king, so it'd be this one. Wah! It's like whatever you drink it. Yeah. Or, really any of these adventure stories, like, what is your favorite color? Yeah. Blue, no green. Ah! Right, yeah, exactly. What is the airspeed velocity of an average sparrow? Maybe it is a swallow. Yeah, and yeah, and then where did you get a coconut? Yeah, it's so good. Anyway, that's funnier than even most of the stuff, which is fair enough, because that is a pure comedy. This is just funny by like they're trying to be funny, but it's like it's not a comedy necessarily. Although there's like most like big chunks of it are coded that way. Yeah. Well, like it's like, are you listening to me? Yeah, we were listening. Yeah. Oh, then what did I say? Yeah. Well, you said, were you listening? Yeah. Anyway, it starts very strong. I think this episode, a lot of good character work, does a lot of like setting the stage. You get a lot of backstory and intimate slow moments, which I think the show desperately needed to take a break for. That then there's a bit of a lull in the middle of the episode, I think, around the spa stuff, which is just a little bit more wacky, and then it picks right up again at the end in the conclusion, which I think is killer. So it's fun, especially watching it a second time, watching Jod's gears turn constantly as he's like working through when to make his move, right? Yeah. Yeah. And now he has a lightsaber. Does he? I don't know if he does. What makes what's his tell? Well, he says it in a very menacing way. I don't know. Well, the thing is, he doesn't have to use the knife. He could have beat her easily without it, I mean, maybe because it's like stealing candy from a baby, Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't really buy that he feels that bad about it yet, but I think it'll catch up to him. The guilt will catch up to him. Anyway, I think the kids feel particularly vulnerable this week, which I think is also good. Though I guess being somewhat traumatized by last week will do that to you. They feel a little bit more. No, that was last week. Yeah, feels like a long time ago. Yeah. Anyway, that's our overall thoughts. Let's get into the recap here. Again, the logline: a seemingly pleasant world will test our heroes like no other, and nothing like a spa planet to really get you going. And I just makes me think of Thermia, or Thermea, as some people like to call it. I don't know. What do you think? Is it pronounced Thermia or Thermea? Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's quite like that. My mom called them crescents today. Yeah, that's definitely wrong. Is that not a croissant?
It is.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Oh, that's the one.
And then she shaped it into like a sandwich. So we had like an egg sandwich with bacon and like green onion in it. It was and yeah, scrambled eggs. It was really good. Yeah. A classic holiday tradition, Boxing Day brunch, which we usually have mimosas, but no mimosas this year. Womp womp. Okay, we start on at Atten, somewhere we haven't been in a few weeks. And there's some hijinks going on with the parents. Wim's dad, Wendell, is working with Neil's mom, Numa, to steal a barrier access code. And a barrier access, this would be like some way to get through the barrier, which I don't understand, like how the ship, this is to get a message out. Maybe you can fly right out, and that's not a problem. I don't know. It's not clear. Anyway, so they can like look for their kids or start like working for themselves to look for the kids. In the process, Wim's desk computer has an energy surge, alerting a nearby droid who finds him with an illicit device. Luckily, the droid reports him to Fern's mom, Farah, who wipes the droid's memory. So, this is a fun little sequence because we get to see what like how the stylings of the inside of these buildings would actually look like instead of destroyed. The build, yeah, wherever what's his name worked in that cubicle in Andor, yeah.
It looks the same. It's the same weird space cubicle.
Yes.
In the center of the room, they're all space.
And they're super far apart, which is not efficient for space. But I was thinking about this, literally thinking about this exact thing. If you are colonizing other planets, space is the least of your worries. You have literally nothing but room. So, except for in places like Coruscant, where of course using space is like has its own like opulence to it, right? Of course, like who knows how many apartment buildings the Empire bulldozed so they could build the the Bureau of Investigation or whatever. ISB, that's the one. Yeah. That's right. You better not tell each other what you're making for. You better not tell each other's wage, because I don't want you knowing each other's wages. Because if you know each other's wages, then you'll ask for more, and that can't be that kind of stuff. But it's like it's like if you worked at like I guess like the Canada Revenue Agency or something. It's like it's like if it's confidential. You don't talk about work even at work. Yeah. Yeah. We don't need to see the planning and then the execution and yeah.
I love that. I was like, oh, this is great. Like, it's just a quick few-minute little scene. We can see the parents up to something, but it's like, I don't really
Well, this is a great example of show don't tell, right? You get to act, character through action, story through action. So, the music helps too. There's a lot of like tensiony strings. It's kind of scored a little horror-esque here. Anyway, this is the first time we see another different alien on the planet, a Rhodian. Have we seen Rhodians before? Maybe there was a Rhodian kid. Okay, so I'm wrong about that, but I definitely saw like a yellow Rhodian in the background of this one. Anyway, Wendell is concerned he doesn't have access, but he's given this special gizmo device by Numa that maybe she built. It's unclear where she got it from. But again, it's like we can find that out later. We don't need backstory on every single thing. Anyway, it looks like he plugs it into his computer and it looks like he's gonna get away with it, but he looks super sketchy. Yeah, it's like why you keep looking over here? And then we get this really funny exchange where the droid is like, "What's behind your back?" And yeah, this really works for me because two things: the droid is practical and like the stop motion effects that they're doing here are like top notch. It's so cool. And then also, every time in movies people like stand with their hand behind their back, most people don't notice or don't say anything, and it's so weird that people get away with that. Well, they turn around and go and like they turn around quickly and there's something behind their back. It's like anyone would be suspicious of that. But like in this, it's like it's nice to be like, oh no, the droid is not falling for that. Do you think that like the trying to wipe its memory will come back to bite them later? But maybe she thinks she has high enough power levels for that. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, really funny sequence. So we get taken to Farrah's office. She's got a really big office. It's very nice. Yeah, there's not enough room for everyone at the top, even though there's clearly enough room for more offices up there.
Yeah.
Anyway, she or at least they want to get a message out. The parents, at least all the parents except for Farrah, are in agreement that the supervisor is not going to help them. This is trying to go through the regular channels is not, working. And she's like, no, I'm working on it. And she's like, well, they're like, is it doing anything? Like, where do you? And she's like, no. So she kind of gets on board, that way. But basically, they don't think the supervisor is going to help. They need to take things into their own hands. They want to send out a message that might help them find their kids without revealing where At-Atten is. It's a tricky proposition, right? And by the way, the fact that we find out that this planet is a mint is an interesting twist that we find out at the end of the episode, but it certainly lends a lot of credence to people being like, where do they get the money for the First Order, and where do they get the money for that? Maybe it came from here. Yeah, yeah, seriously. Well, I mean, maybe it's like it seems like maybe they joke about there being a mine underneath the city and stuff. Maybe there is a mine.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
well, you need to mine stuff so you can mint it. Yeah, yeah. And the Empire loves mining stuff,
Yeah.
strip mining especially. Yeah, but this is more of like a sustainable mining operation. Anyway, she agrees to help them, and she's like, well, so what's the plan? So they're trying to get a message out. We'll see how that works out. We don't really know yet, but cut to title card. Any thoughts on this opening sequence?
I mean, no, not a fun and
Yeah,
we didn't have to make
let's move here. We do spend a little bit more time in the next bit here. So we come back to the Onyx Cinder, where with our main cast and crew, and we're hanging out above at Akron. We get a really cool. This show you mentioned while we were like rewatching it looks really good. It does look really good. The effects are quite high quality, like movie quality. Love to see this on an extra big screen. Anyway, we get this really cool overhead shot of the planet and the ship, and I will say that also the ship's design, although it is a clunker, is growing on me. I think it's got a bit of a sleeker look than I originally like. When it was coming out of the ground and like flipping over and stuff, like I wasn't sure about it, and even like for the first few weeks, like even when it was parked at Port Borgo and stuff, didn't really like have a cool piratey ship feel to it. I guess like the challenge is you don't want to make it look like a schooner, right? You don't want it to look like an old wooden ship,
like a pirate.
right? Exactly. So it's like you got to find it like a new, unique style for the pirate ships, and then like you see the ones that come and blow up the security ships this week, and they kind of have a similar design where it's kind of like almost scorpion-esque, where you've got like or maybe a hammerhead almost, not quite like the hammerhead freighters that we get, in Corellian cruisers and stuff like that, but this like wide front and wide back and like skinny middle. They're not all like that, obviously, because we also saw like the weird shark fin one. But I know it's growing on me, and I don't. There is no yet seemingly like unifying design philosophy.
No,
Yeah. Although they do have like the slatty windows at the back that you did have in a pirate ship. Yeah, yeah. Like where the captain's quarters are. Yeah. Anyway, we find Jod tying up SM-33 with rope, and it's actual like rope, which is kind of funny. Yeah. Anyway, they're tying it to their dinner table with everyone kind of debating on what to do next. Despite some work by KB on his memory circuits, everyone is nervous to switch on the droid. They know they need to switch him on to get the coordinates at Atten. That's important. And Jod and Fern kind of have a moment where she continues to not trust him. This is like an ongoing theme throughout this entire episode, despite the fact that he rescued them all last week, right? So she continues to not trust him, and despite his recent save, he seems to see through her kind of like disguise walls that she's put up, right? And kind of calls her out for being scared. And there's this moment where it's like, he's like, you're scared. No, you're scared. And he's like, you're scared. And she's like, kind of like actually is scared, right? We saw her moment of vulnerability last week where she admits she's scared, but she's still playing tough. So KB switches on SM-33 because neither of them wanted to do it. And we get this kind of funny like jump scare moment where he like tilts his head and it's like we get the what do you want?
Yeah.
Which is funny. Anyway, Neil wants SM-33 to promise not to hurt them again, and he says he won't, as those were just the the old captain's orders, and that's when we learn about Captain Renaud, which is a French like sounding name, but they don't say it in a really French way. Anyway, Jod recognizes the name. This is like their Blackbeard mythology. Jod recognizes the name Tac Renaud and susses out that the ship that they're on is the Onyx Cinder, which is the first time that name has been said on screen. Yeah, finally. So he gets all giddy. He's like, it's like, ooh, like it's like sipping. Yeah, it's like standing on the Black Pearl. And he gets into all like storyteller mode, and he like waxes poetic about the most infamous pirate the galaxy has ever known. Right? It says, for years he roamed the skies, plundering and terrorizing whole star systems. Anything he wanted, he took. The story goes he was after the treasure of At-Aten aboard the mysterious ship, the Onyx Cinder, when he just disappeared. Crew, ship, all. So the whole idea of like a ship disappearing seems like aligns with piratey stuff because that's how we think of. But like in space, I imagine ships disappear all the time. Yeah. Yeah. On a 2D plane. Yeah. 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 Like, oh, they just disappeared, or maybe they hit a asteroid and blew up. You know, it's like, yeah, exactly. So it's like, I get it. It's a fun piratey mystery, but it just right. And now, turns out he was betrayed by his concubine. Yeah. Fern isn't interested in the pirate stories, though, and she just wants to cut to the chase and wants the at-Aten coordinates. Unfortunately, 33 does not have them. Classic situation where he like promised to have them or thought he had them and then doesn't have them. He kind of implied that he had them last week when he was talking about how he scanned them for the captain. Anyways, but he knows where they are. Okay. Another wild goose chase. Apparently, his old captain scanned the coordinates and kept them in his old lair beneath Skull Ridge Mountain. Anyway, she wants them to go there, and he just gets up and snaps all the ropes, which is another funny bit. We get this brief moment. It's played into more later in the episode, but Wim, even during this like really exciting pirate moment, is feeling a little. He looks a little down. Yeah. We'll get to it when we get there, but he says he always wanted an adventure, and it's like there's nothing more like safe and adventure-y than getting to hear about a pirate stuff on their safe ship. So it's like you could at least enjoy that stuff without being, anyway. But he's a bit of a down in the dumps. I get it. Well, it's a bit of back and forth. He's all over the map. Stupid kids. Yeah. Anyway, so we jump to hyperspace, and while we're in hyperspace, we get to spend some time hanging out with the crew, and this is fun. We get more Storytime 33. I was going to say Storytime Smee, but yeah. Anyway, he's telling the crew a tale from the days of Captain Renaud. We were, of course, for At-Aten, when Captain Renaud began to suspect mutiny. With the treasure so close, the first mate went mad with greed and challenged the captain. The captain's concubine betrayed him, stabbing him with his own dagger. Man, it always gets me. Yeah. But the captain had the last laugh. He locked out the ship's controls, and the whole mutinous lot of them died crashing into At-Aten. Well, no, he was stabbed in the back by his concubine, and they were all killed in the crash. It just seems unlikely that anyone survived that. And maybe he comes back later. Yeah. And we don't know his face, and maybe it's played by Jeffrey Rush. I just saw it like a few clips. People think that the pirate is Wim's dad? No. No way. But what a twist if it was. Yeah. But there's not a lot of other characters. Like, if it is one of the characters we know, then maybe it's Wim's dad. But more likely it's someone we don't know, and it'd be like, look, it's Captain Renaud, and it's like a really cool, or it's Hondo.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. So, the kids and even Jod, which is funny, but likely for different reasons, are enraptured by the story. They're just like gripped by these tales that SM33 is telling them. But again, Wim is bummed out. We get this like evil cackle from Jod when he starts telling the story about the mutiny and all this stuff, and he's just like, just loving it up. And then he really switches into like, now he has like this angle that he can play. He really switches into like, I'm taking control of this whole operation. Right? He says that's enough story time for now, right? Which is like a classic like thing you would say to kids. And even fucking Neil, oh come on, I wanted to hear more about the pirate lair. Again? Oh my god. How does this keep happening? Because this is the wrong one. This should be line 2. Hold on. Sorry, everyone. This happened last week too, I think. Yeah, 1 second. Oh my god. This is so annoying. Okay, line 2. Here we go. Yep.
Can we hear me now?
You should be able
There
to
we
hear
go.
now.
That looks like you can hear me now.
Thanks, Adil.
Thank you for letting us know.
Man, we're half the episode in. Okay, don't worry. If you want to hear the whole thing, it's all being recorded.
Yeah, post
and
it.
you can subscribe to our podcast and just download the audio version.
But thank you for letting us know. For anybody else who pops in.
Yeah, man, that's a bummer. That keeps happening.
No one wants to listen to just Julian talk.
Again, luckily it is mostly me.
You can understand what I'm saying. It's a lot of nods.
Anyway, thanks, Adil. This is not a professional operation, obviously. A real ragtag.
Need to hire a
here.
sound guy.
It would be nice to have a producer. I'm both producer, host, and writer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Jod is kind of like putting the kibosh on this whole thing. I think what's really happening here is that he wants to reserve as much of this knowledge for himself. He doesn't want the kids to know all the stuff, because if they know, then they can tattle.
They can tattle,
right?
yeah.
Which is what kids do instead of snitch. They're not snitches because they're kids.
Yeah.
But once they get old enough, then they are snitches.
It's true.
That is how that works.
Yeah, once you get to
18, is that, or you can still be a tattler at 18?
No. I think anything at like
you're full-blown snitch.
13 and above. Like once you get like a
13,
teenager.
You can be a snitch at 13.
Yeah, you're not a tattler at 13. It's gotta be like under teenage years. But I do just like the little things about kids, like when they're like, "What's a concubine?" It's just like, just don't worry about it.
I asked my mom what horny meant. That's when I was like 10 years old.
Sorry, that got me.
Yeah, sorry. You're welcome.
Why would you ask that?
Because I didn't know what it meant. What was I supposed to do?
Ask your friend or Google it. That's so funny. How did she explain it to you? But never mind. I probably don't want to know.
She was like, I think. What the hell did she say? She's like, when people get really excited. I don't know how to fix the echoing.
Oh,
to be honest.
sorry.
I think it's just because we're in the room next to
We're
each
too
other.
close to each other.
Yeah.
Look over here.
No, you're halfway off the screen. What if I switch over here? Anyway, I don't want to talk about that. Actually, we're gonna.
Yeah,
move on.
we'll move on.
We're gonna move
That's
on.
hilarious,
But yeah, it is in the same vein. Anyway, she gets stabbed with her own daughter. Yada yada yada. Neil wants to hear more about Captain Renaud's secret lair. At the mention of the lair, 33 gets all wispy about this, and thinking back, he says, "Oh, how I've missed it, my home, the place of my assembly. The lair lies in the heart of a lonely mountain, where bubbling pits of mud hide the mangled corpses of captain's foes. Home, sweet home. Oh, my circuits buzz to see it again. 'Tis so good to have me memories back." And then he goes on this whole thing is like they walk away. Pillaging, ransacking, carousing. Carousing is a really good word. You guys want to look that up together? Carousing, what it means exactly. Define carousing. The activity of drinking alcohol and enjoying oneself with others in a noisy, lively way. Yeah,
I'll start using that in my real
that's
life.
certainly what. Well, if you serve alcohol, you should tell people to
Yeah.
be quieter with their carousing.
Yeah. Just be louder if you're carousing.
Oh,
actually.
yeah, that's right. If you're carousing, you want to be louder.
Yeah,
That's
it's
true.
like being rowdy.
More ruckus. Ruckus is also another good word. Anyway, 3-3 is still my favorite character on the show.
Yeah.
For the record. Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, he's so funny. Anyway, Wim is again being a real downer. No one else seems to notice. And he takes off to another part of the ship, but Jaw does notice. So this is where you're like, okay, how bad of a guy really is he?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you interpret like his trying to like help here, quote unquote?
Right.
Do you think he's doing this earnestly, or does he have an ulterior motive to kind of like cheer up Wim?
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking. You.
Oh, sorry. No, I don't think he has an ulterior motive. I think he genuinely cares. I would say because it's. Yeah, I feel like John does have a sweet spot, and like I know we get a little bit of a heel turn later on, but this is what I mean. Like I do think he does actually kind of give a shit about these kids a little bit. Like it's I can see him actually having that like sympathetic side to him and taking the time to like go chat with them. He like I don't know. I don't think he gets anything out of that either. Like why? I don't know. What else would he really get out of that interaction, right? So
I think the idea is that we get to see this softer side to John.
Yeah.
In the same episode that he gets the heel turn.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to give us a little bit of both. Otherwise, we might forget that he has that side to him.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, it's interesting. The other thing is you got to consider the advice he does give, which is not great.
Yeah.
Although it does have a cool Easter egg in it. So
Does it?
he arrives to find Jod. So he arrives to find Wim crying and reading his little pad. And he says, "Oh dear," because I think he got one of those examples of like he sees a kid crying, he's like, "Ugh."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I'm uncomfortable now." Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, Wim is a bit of a little bit of a whiner here. He's whining. He says he always wanted to go on a real adventure, and he's on one. So it's like, what are you complaining about? But he doesn't like how scary it is out in the real world, right? It's scary and confusing, and I miss my dad and my mom.
Yeah.
Which is okay, fair enough. That's cute and sad, but it's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You want to go on a real adventure? The real world is gonna be a big wake up call for a 10-year-old.
Yeah, it's true.
And anyway, we learn about Wim's mom. She's like dead from before, which we knew.
Dead from
Well, she's dead from before, or she's missing from before.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe she is alive. Maybe she's a pirate.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a twist? Maybe, what if she's? Because that would explain why Wim's dad is also a pirate.
Oh, it's his
in this
mom,
potential
which is a
theory.
real deep pirate voice.
I'm not saying she is the captain, although
Sorry.
wouldn't that be a cool twist too? She's like got a voice changer.
Yeah.
On. You can't see any of the person's face.
What if it
it's
is?
possible that it is his mom.
That'd be crazy.
No, this is the kind of dumb theories that I hate. I hate theories where everyone's related to each other. It's weird.
Oop.
You don't have to keep moving.
Sorry.
You can just leave it. It's fine. Just put it somewhere comfortable.
Yeah, I know. Just touching everything now.
Yeah, making a bunch of mic sounds.
You don't like mic sounds?
Not the sounds of touching a mic. No, not particularly. And I don't edit that stuff out. So unless it's like really, really bad, I won't edit it out because I prefer a more lively mix. That's how I would put that. All right. So this moment where he's like, "Oh, don't worry, you'll see them all again soon," and chin up.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. And he's like, well, "I won't see my mom soon because she's dead from before." And this tugs on Jod's heartstrings. Unfortunately, Jod's advice is to forget them.
Yeah.
Calls them
Wild.
attachments.
Well, yeah.
Wants him to leave them behind. And Wim says he can't. So again, this is where we start getting into the Jedi-isms, which is a word that we've coined on this podcast. And obviously, a dead giveaway is any use of the term attachments. The Jedi hated attachments.
Right.
They thought that they needed to separate themselves from all attachments, which, in retrospect, maybe was a bad idea.
I mean, yeah.
Led to their downfall.
I would say so.
However, there are some there's elements of truth to all these things, but it's interesting watching Jod kind of twist these lessons that he would have received as a youngling, assuming he was a Padawan during Order 66 era, which we again we've done the math. The age works, right? He was a young Padawan at that time, or maybe not even, maybe just a youngling.
Yeah, yeah.
And he would have gotten these lessons from Yoda and other Master Jedi at the time, right? Ones that we would know. And he's taking these lessons that were taught to him, and he's basically twisted them to fit his own
Yeah.
aims in his like pretty rotten life that he lives.
Yeah.
Right. He lives as he's a pirate captain, no attachments. So it's like, oh well, the Jedi had it right because no attachments as a pirate means that you're always safe.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
It's like
so
a hitman. You can't have attachments if you're a hitman.
Yeah, exactly. Because then they go after your family. Yeah. Anyway, this whole sequence is, I think, pretty touching. I think like it works because the camera's really up in close up. They're sitting on the floor. The music is nice. And it is this like genuine moment of connection or advice, but again, it has this like tinge of corruption.
Yeah, yeah.
In it. But again, Wim as a kid, he says, "I can't just forget my
Well,
parents." Like, what do you
yeah,
mean?
especially at his
Yeah.
age too. Like, it's just like you
Well,
can't
I
just
mean,
tell this kid
You're right. He's too old to be trained.
he
as a
would
Jedi.
be. Yeah, because he's be too attached already. That's the whole point. But yeah, it's like you can't just tell this kid who lost his mom and is sad about it. Like, I just don't care. Just you
Yeah, it's
shouldn't be
like,
attached.
Have you tried not
Yeah.
being upset?
Have you tried not being attached to your mom?
Yeah, like what's
Yeah.
who needs a mom?
Yeah.
Anyway? Have you seen this big world out here? Anyway, yeah. He says, "You have a powerful imagination. When you want, you can see grand adventures even in a rotten galaxy like this." And this is where the big Easter egg is. Remember, your focus determines your reality.
Mm.
You have vision, embrace it, make your life the one you want to live. And the way he says, make your life the one you want to live, he said it so quietly. I think it's the most truthful thing that he said maybe in this entire show.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably the like mantra that he lives
I
by.
would say so because he obviously doesn't live under a whole Jedi mantra, but he was
No.
lightly probably trained that way. So it's, he decided that that's how he was going to live his life a long time ago, and he stuck with that.
Well, probably out of necessity.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
exactly.
To survive, he had to, leverage the things that he had learned, which would probably been pretty limited at that time,
Mm-hmm.
to survive, making his way up through the pirate world or whatever it was, or when he became a pirate, right?
Yeah.
Eventually becoming a captain, he got to steer his own life. He got to be the master of his own destiny. Whereas most Jedi, all Jedi, you could argue, don't have that ability.
No, definitely not.
They're not free to make their own choices about their lives. Ask Anakin about it. He was real annoyed about that
Yeah.
scenario. It's not fair. Anyway,
Nothing's ever fair for Anakin.
no. Man, what a whiner. Almost as much a whiner as Wim.
Yeah.
And so the part where he says, "Remember, your focus determines your reality." This is a line spoken by Qui-Gon Jinn, the coolest Jedi of all time, to a young Anakin Skywalker
Mhm.
at the pod race.
Right.
Actually, before they join the pod race, I think, if I recall, before they make the bet, and he uses the Force to win
Yes,
the
yes.
bet. Real sly move by the Jedi there, to be honest. No, they won't. That's a different moment, but I just he's so funny to me.
Watto?
Some sort of, yeah. What is some sort of Jedi has something with your hand around like that. Bit of a racist
Is
stereotype.
he supposed to sound Greek? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I just realized that.
Oh my god, it's so funny.
Yeah.
No, they won't. Anyway, yeah, real crappy dude. Oh, a slave owner. Man, wouldn't even let his mom go. Wait, she was stolen by
I don't remember.
or
Sold.
to.
She was sold to Tusken Raiders, yeah.
I know, my goodness.
Mhm.
Anyway, couldn't stop the slavery situation. Just came for the kid,
Mhm.
Qui-Gon? A little bit of a mark against, to be honest.
Yeah.
Little bit mark, slight mark.
Could have worked a
against
little
Qui-Gon.
harder to get his
Yeah.
mom out of there. At least
Yeah.
take her to a different planet.
Because
Get her set up somewhere else.
how is he supposed to concentrate on being a Jedi when he thinks his mom is
Yeah.
a slave?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not great. Anyway, Jod uses the Force to lift Wim's pad back into his hands, which causes Wim to question how he can even do that if he's not a real Jedi. I guess that we have to assume then that after Jod admitted that he wasn't a real Jedi, Wim jump to the conclusion that he faked the whole key floating thing.
Right.
And with a string,
With a string,
probably,
magnets.
or whatever, magnets. So he thinks, this is a common misconception, I think, even amongst casual Star Wars fans, that you need to be a Jedi or a Sith to wield the Force.
Right.
As we know, and Star Wars has really tried to hammer home over the last 5 years, that anyone, that maybe even less time than that, last 3 years, anyone can potentially be a Force wielder.
Yeah.
Just like how dedicated you are, how much natural talent you already have, right? Hence the midichlorian counts, which we don't talk about. They're now called M counts.
M counts, yes.
So we don't know Jod's M count, but it's obviously high enough, right? And we don't know if Wim has any natural aptitude for being a Jedi, but I'm sure he'd love to.
Oh yeah.
Most
kids would.
He gets his own little broom boy moment a little bit later, but totally messes it up. And maybe that's the answer for him. He's just not meant for that style of life. But anyway, he doesn't answer this question. How do you do that if you're not a real Jedi? Right. Again, our assumption is that he's a former Padawan. A gray Jedi, one might say. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
We get an iris wipe here, which is fun, but it's like more square. Any thoughts on this sequence with Jod and Wim?
No, I just
moment?
not necessarily the heartwarming moment. I just really like the pirate story. I just like getting the backstory about this, Captain Renaud or whatever. So that's very fun. And then it's always nice to get these little tidbits of Jod's kind of Jedi past, or like his presumed Jedi past that still kind of floats and mixes in there. So
you think we'll get a clear answer for his past before the end of the series, or would that be left as a mystery?
I don't know. I would. The person who wants immediate satisfaction to Stroh's wants to know his backstory, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get it, or we don't get all of it, because they want to maybe save some for another season. Or
fine with it being a mystery for a
while.
Yeah,
that's true.
I would like to get confirmation on the Padawan thing.
Yeah, a little bit of it.
I don't need to know who his Jedi Master was, or what exactly.
We don't need an Order 66 flashback. No,
we've seen enough of those.
Yeah, no.
But you know that the Star Wars is obsessed with Order 66.
Yes.
To like an unhealthy degree, one might say. So we might still get that. Anyway, wipe away. We get to the planet Lanupa. And this is, by the way, so this I think is the strongest part of the episode, that waking up the droid to arriving at Lanupa. I think that's the strongest moments of the episode up until the end.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Which is also pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think the Lanupa stuff. Not to sound like a Last Jedi hater, because again I like that movie. I kind of understand why people get upset with that specific moment, where again it feels like a distraction from the main plot. This doesn't necessarily feel that way, but it does slow things down a lot.
Yeah.
And we was already slow, quote unquote. The pacing was slower over the last little bit, but we were getting character moments, and this is just filled with wacky.
Yeah, some kind of goofy, campy, yeah.
So as the Onyx Cinder drops from hyperspace and makes their way into atmosphere, we get another really fun moment as 33, his story about the pirate haven, which has no man would dare to go,
right.
is undercut by pleasure yachts and local security welcoming. I like that he's like, I'm sure a rabid bunch of cutthroats or whatever he says they are, and then he's like, I think that's a pleasure yacht.
Yeah.
You can even hear the music going boom, boom,
yeah,
boom, boom. It's so good. They kind of introduced the idea of the pleasure yacht.
Solo.
In a couple of times. In Solo,
yeah,
right?
Solo is like the main where you see.
They're all like that. Like they're more tall.
They're
than
super
they are
lean.
long.
Yeah, they look like fins that kind of fly around. Yeah.
They're kind of cool.
Yeah, they're very pretty. They don't look like they would eat. Exactly. They're not made for hauling things or smuggling things or shooting stuff. It's
mostly sex.
Yeah. Just sex and drinks.
You don't call something a pleasure yacht unless
I
there's
guess.
mostly orgies going on, right? I mean, I don't mean to be weird, but what else was going on there?
Yeah, just a lot of swinging, I guess.
I guess maybe it's like a nightclub, maybe too.
Yeah, nightclub. Yeah,
and for sure swinging.
Yeah, key parties for sure.
All the words for that same stuff. Okay. Anyway, so it's just a good classic comedic beat, undercutting his story about how it's so
Yeah,
piratey,
this like
and then it's
dastardly,
then- right.
scary pirate
Yeah.
island lair, and it's like, okay, well it's like a spa. And there's a
Right.
bunch of rich people here.
So again, 33 continues to be my favorite.
Yeah.
Anyway, they get interrupted by these local security ships, speeders, kind of more like snow speeders. We actually get a very Empire Strikes Back-esque shot of their ship flying over that mountain peak that feels very similar to Hoth. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually reused some footage for that. to
Yeah, I
make that
could have.
work. They're interrupted by these security people, and we find out where they are, which is a neutral planet where all are welcome if they keep the peace, which is funny when you're talking to pirates. Violators will be shot down.
Yeah.
Again, Jod recognizes that he's like quick to pick up what's going on, and he's very amused.
Yeah, he's
by
just
this
giggling. Was it called
circumstances.
Lanuda or Lanut?
Lanupa.
Lanupa. He's like, Lanupa. He just starts giggling. Like,
Protestant
what?
Lanupa,
Yeah.
right? And he's like, so he just starts giving it to 33, and then 33's only starts, it's known by many names.
Yeah.
Right? One is the Demon's Rest,
The Demon's
Battle
Rest.
World, and then Lanupa.
Yeah. It's like it's just basically a fancy bathhouse.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's like a mountaintop resort
Yeah.
with a spa.
It did seem like the types of aliens that we saw there were like, some kind of
With the
crime.
high rolling.
Yeah, like, borderline crime boss. Not crime boss, but crime syndicate.
This is a very exclusive
Yeah.
place. All are welcome if you can afford.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like what's that show on HBO that with all the murders in the resorts?
Only murders in the building? No.
No, that's on
I
Disney
have no
Plus.
idea.
Anyway.
All the murders in the resorts? I
There's
don't know.
there's 3 seasons or 2 seasons at least, and it takes place on a bunch of resorts, and then there's always like a murder mystery.
Oh,
or
I don't know.
whatever. But it's like rich people. I'd really have a hard time like getting excited about rich people problems as like a show concept anymore.
I mean, yeah.
I'm being radicalized against the bourgeoisie.
The bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
We all
yeah.
are.
Who got it? You have to hate the
Yeah.
bourgeoisie.
The people have always hated the bourgeoisie.
Yeah. Careful though, you don't want to get your head caught.
Yeah. White Lotus.
Thank
Oh,
you,
okay.
Ray. In the
I was gonna
chat.
say like Knives Out.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
The second one, they go to like a remote Greek island.
Yeah.
It's not quite as snowy as this
Right.
one. So they get this funny mix up with the planet with a reminder from the local security that the children are not allowed.
Yeah.
Right. So what's funny about this show and this episode specifically is so we have pleasure yachts.
Right.
We have the mention of a concubine.
Yeah.
Right. They ask about the concubine
Mhm.
later. By the way, that reference to the concubine stabbing the captain in the back reminds me of Star Trek Enterprise, the Mirror Universe episodes. There's a 2-parter.
Okay.
And in that, you get like a glimpse at the main cast and crew, but as if they were their evil counterparts from the evil Mirror Universe.
Oh, okay.
And
Fun.
the captain's concubine stabs him and then becomes the captain.
Okay.
In that.
Well then.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Captain Archer. Anyway, yeah, and then she becomes the empress of the entire. Yeah, because she uses the future. Anyways, this whole thing. It's a really cool.
I have
2-part
not watched
episode.
enough Star Trek, so.
Anyway, the children are not allowed. It's an adults only spa.
Right.
Right. So we have a kids show
Mm-hmm.
starring pirates and 10 to 12-year-old kids,
Yes.
and we're gonna go to an adults only spa for an episode.
But yeah.
But it's like it couldn't be more tame in terms of like
Well,
what
yeah.
that actually entails when represented on screen.
They haven't seen like the whatever.
Yeah, they need to go to
parts.
that scuzzy bar on Coruscant.
Oh, yeah.
Where that guy's selling death sticks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean,
Right.
they were already at the pirate hall, like whatever.
That's true, and there was a whorehouse.
Yeah,
there.
there you go. There's guys barfing in the street, and
yeah.
you said a whorehouse.
That's true.
But
Right, which is I
think it's just reiterating that children don't belong in a pirate world.
right. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because there's things like concubines.
Well, yeah,
And
concubines
murder.
not- yeah, it's mostly the murder. I think the concubines aren't really a problem for the kids.
Yeah.
Unless they're the murderers.
Yeah.
So this is like working really like Jod is very excited about this,
Mm.
right? He's like, oh, it's adults only. I can leave the kids behind. It's a spa.
Yeah.
Plus, there's a map to treasure. It's like everything he could ever imagine.
Yeah, it's like,
It
you
does
stay
sound
on the
pretty
ship,
great, even to me.
right?
Right? It's feel like they should do that. Screw that whole like Star Wars hotel thing, which is closing down anyway. But
Mhm.
they should just make a fake Star Wars spa that has like a little adventure embedded
Oh, that'd be
in it.
cute. Yeah.
And that would be much more my speed.
Yeah.
Adults only.
Adults only. Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least like an adults only weekend.
Yeah.
Or something. I'm not saying it wouldn't be having there wouldn't be orgies.
I was like,
It's still
I was like,
Disneyland.
okay,
Okay.
Julian, what
But
do you
there
want
just wouldn't
here?
There just wouldn't be kids in your way when you're trying to hang out at the spa.
Yeah, the kids
and-
cannonballing in your mud
yeah,
bath.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No one wants
I
that.
get it. If I went to a spa, I wouldn't want my kid there. I
Yeah.
love him, but sometimes
not
I want
at
him
the
to go
spa.
away.
Yeah.
It's a menace.
Yeah, she's named Dennis.
Yeah.
But
Ew.
anyway, what's her name? Fern is not. She's not feeling that, right? She is again on all over Jod, not letting him have any of these moments alone, so he can screw them over. Which, to be honest, she's totally right to feel
Smart.
this way,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And you get this line from Jod here, which feels genuine, which is like, you can trust me, right? And I think that he thinks that he believes that.
Yeah.
Like, if you trust me, I will look out for you. But when presented with the opportunity to throw them under the bus for the sake of treasure, he can't help himself. You know. Anyway, so he reluctantly agrees to take them, but he wants them to all give him the rest of their money, the Old Republic credits, so he can use that to barter.
Mhm.
Anyway, cut to them landing at this beautiful mountaintop resort, and they drop what looks to be like gunk in a hubcap
Yeah.
on like a nearby speeder, which is so fun. I think that was like one of my favorite parts. They always talk about the Millennium Falcon being a real hunk of
Yeah.
junk. This is like a true representation
Yeah.
of a hunk of junk, right?
Yeah. Like I said, it just like flies in filth, like Pigpen.
Yeah. Just like
Peanuts.
Big Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're like, contact waste removal, we may have a situation. And I can't tell if they mean like the garbage people or more like we need like security in case these people are a
Yeah.
problem. Anyway, Jod is greeted by to the famous spas of Skull Ridge Mountain. This is Skull Ridge Mountain.
Yeah.
It ruined it. And they're welcomed by a welcoming committee. And they are introducing. Jod is introducing because he needs to find a disguise for the kids. The this is so funny. From the Bratrick system, which is new lore, by the way. We don't know anything about that.
We just made it up.
Yeah. The most wise elders.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to make up. There's a bazillion systems, I'm sure. You
Oh,
could
yeah,
have
that's
made
true.
that. But also, you could have just made it.
Yeah.
The most wise elders. And anyway, he's like, you get that classic like, ahem, you missed your cue. And instead of coming down the platform, they like drop from like a suspension arm.
Yeah.
Which is like, I feel like undercuts the whole wise elders
Yeah.
approach, but it's funny anyway. Anyway, the funniest part of this sequence is when Jod pretends to translate
Yeah.
from basic,
Yeah.
and I died.
Yeah.
I was rolling. It was so funny.
Yeah.
He's like he's doing like a Sylvester Stallone
Yeah.
impression without like using any words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, I like that.
But it is fun. I mean, fun to have kids dressed up in, or anyone dressed up in costume
Yeah.
or disguise. It's
Just
like
looking
Star Wars
goofy.
classic
It's
stuff.
great. Yeah.
One looks like a wizard.
Yeah. Yeah. Neil with his like
Yeah.
elephant trunk sticking out.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, but he's an alien, so they can't really tell.
Yeah.
Maybe
You
that's
never
what
know.
they look like as a wise old
Yeah.
elder. They didn't say old, just wise.
Yeah.
Anyway, we see an astromech droid. I'll need to call that when you see him,
Mm-hmm.
right? Got the flat head style. But pretty nice looking. I feel like it's like, okay, this piece of shit just landed.
Yeah.
Get those astromechs working
Yeah.
on it.
Go clean it up.
Go clean that thing up.
Give it a hose.
And yeah, 33 just becomes this like groaning, bumbly, grumbly, like grouch for the rest of this episode. It's so
Yeah.
this is Skull Ridge Mountain. They ruined it.
Where's
Anyway,
my
they're
lair? All the
Yeah,
death.
yeah, exactly. These pits are from dissolving
Yeah.
bodies in acid.
Yeah.
They're provided cocktails and lays, which is funny that they have those in Star Wars, but
Yeah.
it's a Star Wars version of lays.
Yeah.
They're stripped of their weapons, and 33 gets a restraining bolt to prevent violence.
Ah, right.
Which he tests right away. And it
Yeah,
doesn't-
he
it's-
tests right away.
Oh yeah, I want to bet.
Yeah.
Great. Like classic slapstick comedy. Like definitely kills it for me. And we get a bunch of cool shots of different speeders and ships. And again, the people who love that stuff are gonna have a field day. With
Yeah.
these. I don't like. I like it. I just don't have the ability to be like, that's that ship. and
Right,
that's that
right,
ship," or
yeah.
whatever. Anyway, Jod uses the Force. He's using a lot more all of a sudden to steal his knife back. And they are introduced to the spa. Quote, luxury served by indulging each guest's unique proclivities.
Ew.
Unquote.
That always sounds bad.
Yeah, it's always like, well, there's definitely somebody in S&M somewhere
Yeah,
in there.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like
Maybe in the, what do they call it? The something gymnasium? Man, that one killed me too. The sensory
oh, sensory
gymnasium.
gymnasium.
Sensory
Yeah,
gymnasium,
yeah.
Which, like, I'm interested.
I'm interested.
Like, I'll read the brochure.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, unique proclivities is usually just shorthand for we
Weird
got a lot of
stuff.
freak
Yeah,
stuff
there's a
here.
bunch of weird shit going
We got some
on.
weirdos
So let
going
me
on.
know.
Yeah.
Let me know what you need.
Yeah.
We'll handle it
Like,
delicately.
yeah, like you wanna, you know, like tell us, like you need some stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we give
You
you
need
some
some
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah. We do see a space harp playing. This is like classic, like prequel stuff.
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
We have a four-armed space harpist.
Yeah.
Which is great because the score actually uses a lot of harp, and so I'm into it. But more stuff like this, like give me a four-armed space
Yeah.
harpist
Yeah.
more often.
Love that.
33 is all pissed about them changing it. He's all grumbling and like, where's the fighting? Yeah, it's so funny. Anyway, they get introduced to hot springs and mud baths. Have you ever been in a mud bath?
No, but I would like to try it.
I feel like it would be gross.
I don't know.
That's my
I
feeling.
just feel like
on
your
it.
skin would probably be so soft after.
I mean, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But like, is it worth it to like get into a mud, like just only mud? But I guess if you're at a place that's designed for that, like it's easy to clean. And
Yeah,
whatever,
that's the point. But
it'd have to be the right mud bath. Anyway, I love how the the welcome attendant is. A legend has it carved by real pirates, but it's like, yeah, it was.
yeah.
You didn't find all the skeletons?
Yeah, all the dead people? Yeah.
Come on. And also, it's like I don't really understand like the location of the lair in that like
It's like way underneath. Yeah.
it's underneath, but like in the spa, like an active part of the spa, but it's just like on a
More under? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, hey, here's this big cement block. They're like, we built the spa. There's this weird cement block here.
Yeah. I don't
We're
know.
just gonna leave it.
Booby traps.
Did they investigate the booby traps and like, okay, this is too dangerous, seal it up?
Probably, actually.
You
They
know?
were like, yeah, this is a bunch of old pirate stuff, so we're just going to leave that weird, sketchy area over there that keeps trying to kill everyone.
Okay, well then they should have led with, hey, this was a real pirate haven, and
Yeah.
turned it into a resort because
Yeah.
that's cool.
It is cool.
So instead of being like, well, maybe, you know, yeah. I'm telling you, if someone was like, hey, we found a real pirate haven, you can go visit it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We've maintained it. I would be all over.
Yeah.
It. Maybe there's one in Nassau or something. I don't know. Anyway, Jod notices that there's extra security. I don't know if this is going to play into this week's episode or next week's episode. I mean, it certainly doesn't really play into this week's.
Yeah.
But we find out that the banking clan is there for an economic summit.
Right.
Which is another example of like, hey, the people who are supposed to be working hard
Mhm.
in the banking clan are hanging out at a resort.
Yeah.
What kind of summit are they having? You know?
Yeah.
But this is like, I was like, oh, hey, we're doing a company trip to Hawaii.
Yeah.
It's like, how much work are we expected to be doing?
Yeah.
We're in Hawaii. Yeah, so it's just like another like Canto Bite-ism, you know? Another example of the class warfare we've got going on. A lot of, you know, there is a real caste system in Star Wars.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Anyway, they're the banking clan. We'll get to see some of the immunes
Yeah.
later.
All creepy and naked.
All creepy and naked and Slender Man-esque.
Mhm.
I'm not used to seeing them without their shirts
No, they
on.
usually have like cloaks and like
Yeah.
whatever on. But
Yeah, it gives them a little bit more like girth.
yeah, I didn't realize they were so like skeleton
Very
like.
skeleton-like.
Yeah.
Yeah. They look a lot like the little green aliens that we
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
But like taller and more Slender Man.
Yeah.
This is much more terrifying.
Kind of like the aliens from Signs. Like they're all like
Yeah,
skeletal.
100%,
Yeah.
they're just like
Yeah.
that. Man, that movie scared the shit out
Yeah,
of me.
me
when I was
too.
a kid. That scene with the videotape from
And the
Brazil.
kid coming out of, or the
Oh
not the
my
kid, the
God,
alien coming
they're
out of the
like,
bush. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a whole. I watched a whole video about why it's so scary. It's all sound design.
Ah, that makes sense.
They've got like a sharp string violin,
Mm.
like,
Yeah.
and then it cuts out as soon as it walks by,
Oh, yeah.
and
Just
it's
gave
like,
me chills.
yeah, it's terrifying. If you are, the rest of the movie's not that scary, really.
Not really.
But that moment is like a true, genuine jump scare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, they're on high alert for spies and imposters. And the way she says imposters is here, and he does his little like on
Yeah.
the cocktail.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a nice, fun little moment, and that she's like clearly onto what's going on.
Yeah.
But she's willing to play along. So to get past her little gatekeeping, and the fact that he has kids with him, he bribes her
Mhm.
with the Old Republic credits. And it doesn't take much. He's like one at a time, getting pretty far along.
Yeah.
Fern, though, is annoyed that he's looking to stay at the hotel and not concentrating on finding the lair. And so, to like spite her, he asks for a banquet and to
Yeah.
like stay there and find a suite. He like really snaps at Fern.
Yeah.
At this moment, it's kind of like, where do you like? Do you think it's like, oh, he's kind of like back in like the adult world, and all of a sudden there's this kid here, and it's like he like snaps back to like how he probably would have behaved?
Yeah,
before?
I think maybe a little bit. I think he's just getting a little bit frustrated with them too because they're just like not
Oh my God,
listening,
it's so
right?
funny. He's like, what about the wise elders? And they're like,
Yeah,
"What
they're
are
just
you
like, that's what he like
what are you
looks over.
doing?
He's
He's
like,
spinning in place.
yeah, just really every time he's like, "Hey, you stay on the ship," and they're arguing, and he's just like, "God
Yeah.
damn it, these
You
kids!"
never
Like,
want to stay on the
they
ship.
just like he's just getting so over it, like dealing
Yeah.
with them and their antics.
Right. He's like, here's his chance. They can hang out at a spa.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, remember the mission, right?
Yeah.
She's a bit of a buzzkill.
Yeah,
but
that
he
too.
Definitely snaps at her. Anyway, so he wants to find the stuff, and he's ultimately interrupted by someone who recognizes him, which is dangerous for him. A woman named Pocket, a white humanoid alien species. She kind of reminds me of that other bounty hunter that we see. We get a glimpse of her in episode
Ayla
1.
Sakura?
No.
Yeah. Oh, not
Ayla
Ayla
Sakura is a
Sakura.
Jedi. She's like really tall,
I know her
white
name.
skin, and she's got like a really
The
long
ponytail.
Yeah.
It'll come to me.
Anyway, her. She kind of has a similar vibe
Yeah.
as that one. And it's like, it would fall in line with Star Wars, where if you see one alien doing one thing, that's all their
Mhm.
jobs. They all do that. If you see a blue elephant playing
Aura
the piano,
Singh. Sorry.
okay,
Aura
yeah.
Singh is her name.
Maybe she's Aura Singh's species. I don't know what species that is off the top of my head.
Maybe.
There's no way you know that off the top of
No,
your
I
head.
don't know that her species, but I was like just trying to think of what she looks like. I don't think her eyes are all
Let's
white like that.
Aura.
Aurra Singh. Yeah. Oh, it could be actually.
She kind of has a similar look.
Yeah.
Her hair is a little different.
I mean, hair. Yeah, her just
But, like,
isn't
maybe
white,
she's like
but
hair is dyed or something.
yeah. But she is very pale, like the yeah. Could
Yeah,
be.
same color. Known for her chalk white skin. So maybe there's not that many of these species. Do we know what her species is? Does it say here? Species is a Paladuvan. Paladuvan. So maybe we're dealing with another Paladuvian bounty hunter.
Yeah. Could be. Same
Anyway,
paleness. So.
Open theory here, based purely on how pale
yeah.
that she
Yeah.
is. I'm not gonna peruse
Yeah.
Wikipedia right now. Anyway, back on task. So introduced to the spa, interrupted by Pocket, and she calls him Dash Zenton, new
Mhm.
alias. And this episode's full of
Oh my God,
aliases.
he gets 2 new ones in this. They say another one.
3 if you include the one that he takes from the like.
Right.
computer
Well,
that
yeah.
the Professor Gorlock.
Yeah, Professor Corlox. Yes.
But I don't really count that one.
Not really, because he's
No.
like it. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just more of like a alias of opportunity.
Yeah.
I guess any alias is an
That's
alias of
true.
opportunity,
Just
but
to me,
still,
it depends how long you use it for. Like you got to use it with someone for more than a day for it
yeah,
to.
like if someone yelled Dr. Gorlock
Yeah,
across
he's
the
not gonna
hall,
look.
would you respond?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right. Anyway, this is a really fun, like, veiled exchange where they're like talking in code, kind of, to each other. She says the last time she saw him, he had stolen her bounty and left her for dead.
Yeah.
And anyway, she's like, no hard feelings, though, right?
Yeah.
She's like, no hard feelings. In fact, I came to look for you so that, of course, you knew that there was no hard feelings, which I thought also killed me.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's moved up in the world. She's no longer just a bounty hunter taking low-rent guild jobs, as she put it.
Right.
Bounty hunters work for the bounty hunting guild, and you get those pucks.
Mhm.
Even mentions her pucks. So she's a bounty hunter. She now works for like some private, like, rich person or something.
Yeah.
As like a bodyguard. So she's moving up in the world. She's obviously pissed about the whole exchange, right? She says how she went looking for him and no one had ever heard of a Dash sent in before. I'm not sure why that's like such a big deal, but maybe it's like she went to like the local pirate places and no one had heard.
Yeah, I feel like this is just giving us more context about him as a person. Where she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, funny thing, like no one's ever heard of you, you
Yeah, but
asshole!"
like, it's a big
Like,
galaxy. There's a lot of people who would have never heard of it.
yeah, but I feel like there's a hint of this of like, I don't know. He
I mean,
probably
I guess
wooed
you're
her a
right.
little bit, used a fake name, so she's just like
Yes.
extra pissed, being like, "You're such a dick! Like,
Right.
you gave me a
Yeah.
fake name and then you
This
screwed
is
me over and left me for dead." Like,
Similar to that, like that punk dude on Tatooine in Mando season 2.
yeah, yeah,
Or season 1, never mind.
yeah.
When they like agree to go, work the bounty together, and then he tries to steal it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, yeah.
But he succeeded in this scenario.
Mhm.
Anyway, as she walks away, she tells the kids not to trust this Sleemo, which is a old school Star Wars slur,
Yeah,
which I'm pretty sure is Huttese.
I think so. Yeah,
Because I'm pretty sure Jabba says it.
yeah,
Sleemo.
yeah. I think so. Because doesn't like Ahsoka call somebody Sleemo at some
Yeah.
point too,
Yeah.
and like
It's
they
like
use it.
slime ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which I'm just assuming because it sounds like that, but like it's used in that context.
Mhm.
So to avoid confusion, sorry, I lost my place there in a second. So to avoid confusion, he returns to the clerk, and he just hands over the rest of his credits, and it says like, "We're in a hurry." So, which is like, she obviously did her held up her end of the bargain.
Oh yeah,
basically.
yeah.
They arrive at their room, and it's like this big like luxury suite. The kids are amazed. They call it Wizard.
Yeah. So
Again.
wizard.
By the size of the suite, and when, to be honest, felt very genuine because I would have, if I was a kid and I was
Oh,
in a
yeah.
fucking suite like that, I'd be like, "Holy shit, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen."
Right.
Right. They're pissed about the buffet. Or 33 is upset about the buffet. He's like, "There's a buffet."
Yeah.
So good. Jod doesn't have time to mess around though, and this is where things get really serious with Jod, and I find it really fascinating. Because he's assuming that Pocket has already called in his bounty.
Yeah, like he's like, man, because she says something about like, "Oh, I'll see." So doesn't she like say something about, "Oh, we'll see if there's a bounty for you or the kids," right?
Oh, did she say that?
I think she says something like that. I could be wrong, but
I thought it was more like, "Oh, I'm just here for R&R. Like, don't
Yeah.
worry, But it was more like, again, it's like, I am specifically going to look you up.
yeah, she's like, "Oh, don't worry, I won't look you up." It's like she's absolutely gonna look you
Yeah.
up.
He's like, "Listen, guys, someone is coming for us. This is like, we got to take this serious,
Yeah.
right?"
They're just dicking around.
And then so he gets into this converation with 33. He's like, "The lair is deep in the heart of the mountain. All who enter face ruin and slaughter." And he's like, "Well, how do we get there?" "Through what they call the spa," which is funny.
Yeah.
So the lair is marked with the captain's sigil, thusly.
Mm-hmm.
And he like carves into that table, which feels like a dead giveaway. Like, you don't want to leave that kind
You're
of
just
thing
laying
behind.
around. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so the kids were literally having a pillow
Yeah.
fight
Jumping
during
on the
this whole
bed.
time.
Yeah.
And Jod is pissed. Like, he's really
He goes
upset.
into straight dad mode here. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. So Jod, like, he takes charge. He wants to split the kids into teams. There's lots of like bickering and like,
I'm gonna go with them. Yeah. And he's
I
just
want to
like,
I wanted to search the buffet. No one's searching the buffet.
yeah. He just loses his mind. I
Yeah.
get it though. Like I'd be
Yeah.
frustrated with those kids by now too. So
Well, it's like because his life is on the line.
Yeah.
He doesn't have time to mess around.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't really understand even though they just came out of a life and death situation, they kind of don't have the ability to abstract that concept of like,
Yeah.
you are in danger now, even though you can't see
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Right.
I think with Joe
And-
too, he's like, they will kill me, and like
Yeah.
and you, but like probably more him.
Well, he's like, he does remind them, and your bounties.
Yeah.
Because like you guys also have a bounty on your head. And so, Fern is being difficult as usual, and they end up agreeing on a team to split up into. But he really needs to reinforce how like serious the situation is, right? And we do get the fun of he's like, well, why don't you? Like, I don't want to search the sensory gymnasium.
Yeah. Like, why don't you go to it? Yeah.
Yeah. And then KB, you get this weird moment where she's like, I don't want to go to the spa. She's like, it's gross.
Yeah.
'Cause I think she's worried about seeing someone.
I think she's
naked.
uncomfortable with the naked people. Like, it's like,
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
When I would be taken to swimming lessons.
Yeah.
At the Sherbrooke pool here,
okay.
and really old pool, like from like the late 1900s.
Okay.
Built, early 1900s.
Jesus.
Sorry. Like yeah, he's over 100 years old, like very old, and like not a really big change room.
Okay.
And there was no like kids change room. It's like you go in there and there'd be a bunch of naked dudes with their wangs hanging, and I hated it.
Yeah, that
like
sounds
old
gross.
guys especially. It was like really weird.
Yeah.
And I remember being as like a kid being like not liking that much. So
Yeah, that's fair. I guess but old men just don't have any shame. Like, I just feel like when in women's change rooms when they're open like that, people like turn around and they don't like just have their
you can see their butt.
yeah, but they don't just have their like boobies out like everywhere like old ladies.
Honestly,
They do
I
actually
assume
change
they
rooms,
did,
but
actually.
at pools, like no, women are better about that. Like when there's little kids around.
Yeah. Well, anyway, they weren't for me.
Yeah, old men, God no.
So cut to a quick scene with Pocket claiming the bounty on Silvo. She's talking to Brutus. Of course, remember Brutus, the werewolf. And anyway, he is going to send 2 ships and wants to keep things hush hush until they get there. We then cut back to a hut eating an attendant, which is really funny.
Yeah.
So again, obviously great to see a hut
Yeah,
here.
it's fun.
Very well could be one of the same huts from Mando.
Yeah.
Sorry, Book of Boba Fett
Mhm.
has the huts, but could be.
Could be any
Not hard
hut.
to say.
Yeah.
He says not again, which I guess implies that he survives the process, which is gross.
Well, either that or that like somebody else has already been eaten by this hut. Like he's like,
Oh.
oh man, like you need another one of us. but interesting. Like
you gotta stop having tiny creatures serve.
Yeah,
the
the
huts
hut- yeah.
unless you want them to
they're
eat
obviously
meat.
gonna get eaten. But
Yeah.
it is interesting that banking clan is there and there's huts there, so it's like oh.
Yeah,
some-
like are they? Is there some sort of backroom deal going
Probably.
on between the
There always
yeah.
is with the banking
backroom-
clan.
Yeah, I mean the banking clan is
Just
pretty-
fun
pretty shady.
wars on both sides.
beyond
yeah,
shady,
yeah.
one might say. Yeah. So we are then, I guess, hanging out with our 2 teams, right? We get time with 33, Fern, and Wim. We get that great line about how these pools were supposed to be for dissolving corpses and acid. Now look at them. What a waste. And then we also have KB, Neil, and Jod searching other areas of the spa.
Mhm.
They're staying in contact with their walkie-talkies using their code names Jedi 1 and Jedi 2.
Yes.
Anyways, you said the Mune are here, looking gross as hell. Security's onto them. So Jod is approached by a guard where we learn that Professor Gorlox is from Scipio, and they have to make a break for it.
Mhm.
He's like he's gonna like try to talk his way out of it, but he just classic and then runs.
Yeah.
And which is kind of like a Han move.
Yeah.
And Scipio, just for reference, in case anyone's curious, Scipio is an ice-covered planet located in the galaxy's outer rim, is positioned in the Albario system, and served as the headquarters for the intergalactic banking clan.
Mhm.
So he's saying that, like, if you're from Scipio, you're probably not just
a human. You're probably a mute or a mun, whatever. How did
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, I prefer Mune. It sounds more alien
Yeah.
to me, but I guess we have visited it occasionally in animation,
Yeah, definitely.
but not nothing that really like jumps off the page to me. It appears in a bunch of different places. Obviously.
Yeah, all over the place for sure.
Um,
They
but-
reference it a lot too. So
yeah, which is the other problem.
Yeah, it's referenced.
mostly referenced and not seen.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's the whole Rush Clovis stuff with Padme.
Is he from there? Or is he just their senator or something?
No. So his background is like that he was adopted by them he was adopted into their family because his parents died or something, and his parents were close with people from Scipio and people in the banking clan. So that's how he has those ties. So he's like they're like family to him, but he's not the same species.
This is an interesting note. To better fit the storytelling, this is from 2016. Scipio was placed in the core when nothing was known about it other than that it was the homeworld of Rush Clovis.
Mm-hmm.
The core placements seemed to fit based on like how he acted and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
On that, though it wasn't much to go on. When Clone Wars gave us stories actually set on Scipio, we saw that it was a critical IGBC world, intergalactic banking plan world, with a significant Mune presence. So it was moved to a location in the ORT, the Outer Rim, near Munilist, which is, I guess, the homeworld of them.
Yeah.
Which makes, quote, far more sense than the core. This change was actually made for Ultimate Star Wars, not... note, it says Scipio is in Albario sector, which is in the ORT. The region wasn't changed because of the editing mistake. So there is an early version of this where people thought that Mune was the core world. I wish we spent more time in core worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I say Mune,
Yeah,
yeah,
Scipio.
I just think the core and the inner rim are just we just only go to Coruscant basically. You know, obviously that's not true, but it just feels like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
I like to spend more time there. We spent so much time in the Outer Rim. I get that it's more like space western.
Yeah,
out there,
it's
but
more outlaws and
yeah. I get it. Anyway, so they make a break for it. Back with Fern, they've made their way below the spa, and they find the captain's sigil on a big rock. But they're spotted by a giant alien in a pool looking for refreshments. He worries that Fern is an assassin.
Yeah.
So maybe he's in on the whole banking plan thing. But we get a better look at his face. He's like a walrus with like a giant walrus without tusks and like
A
tentacles.
squid
and-
tentacle. Yeah.
He's super big,
Yeah.
like giant. Really cool design.
Yeah, yeah.
And a fun twist on like, oh, he's scary looking, but he's actually nice.
Yeah. I feel like he wasn't that scary looking. Like, only the tentacle made him
Oh,
scary.
you don't think a giant? You don't
No,
think
he was.
he slams a tentacle
Yeah,
down
that's
right in front
scary.
of
But then as soon as he comes through, I'm like, oh, it's a walrus. Like he doesn't seem
I mean, he's
that
got
scary.
big, cute eyes.
Yeah, I was
guess.
like,
but still, like, I think that would be you'd be terrified by.
yeah,
anything
for sure,
that
anything
big.
that big. But I was expecting something way like with more teeth and scarier, and I was like, oh, he's cute.
Yeah, no, he's not that.
No.
toothy.
He's just a fun guy. And I was like, who's gonna assassinate you? You're huge.
So yeah, it's true, but that doesn't
That's
make
true.
you a bigger target.
Yeah, it's true.
So back at the top, Jod continues to run away from the guards. We learn yet another alias, Jodwick Zank.
Yeah, which is
Closer to
Jod.
Jod.
Jod,
right?
not Jod, not Urudu.
Jod.
No.
It's like he was like, "What's your name?" Jodwick Zank.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you didn't want to. He was like accidentally going to say his real name. I still think Jod Nawood is his actual.
I don't know. We'll see.
That's my actual hunch still. Also, Mad Captain Silvo. We didn't know the Mad part before.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like an addition to a previous one. Anyway, they're cornered, but KB pulls out a wrench, very much like the little pistol blaster thing for Men in Black.
Yeah.
And even there's this moment where he's like, "Well, what are you gonna do with that?" And then even Jod starts laughing
Yeah.
with them,
He's
like,
like, look at these kids.
Right. And then she uses it, the wrench, to like open a pipe and like spray them with
Yeah.
with
It's
mud.
very like, I don't know.
Slapstick.
Yeah,
again.
again, a slapstick and what are those Three Stooges type?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so they use that opportunity to make an escape. They're found by 33, who tells them that Fern needs help in the grottos below.
Mm-hmm.
Always with the coolest.
That's what I
words.
mean. Grotto, lair. I was like, they used some
Yeah.
great lingo in this
Yeah.
episode.
I would love a layer in a grotto.
Yeah, same.
The only thing I mean, most people think when they hear grotto, I think of the Playboy Mansion.
Oh,
But this is an adults-only spa, so.
I've never heard of the
You've never heard of
Playboy
the
Mansion
grotto?
having a grotto. No.
Oh yeah, it's a whole thing.
All right.
Trust me.
It's
on
probably
this one.
gross.
I mean, I'm sure it was gross.
Yeah.
Probably still is. Yeah. When we get below, we hear Fern telling the monster thing, which we find out is named Catholops,
Mhm.
which I guess obviously like a play in Cthulhu.
Cthulhu, yeah.
Similar visual style with the tentacles,
Mhm.
but not on the face.
Not on the face,
With
yeah.
like a nicer looking face.
Mhm.
But I kind of spelt like the CTH
Yeah.
Cthulhu spelling, which is fun. And anyway, she's telling him this story about their adventures that they've been on so far, and he's like really gripped by it.
Yeah.
Right.
So cute.
So crisis averted. He said he'd help us if we entertain him.
Yeah.
That's what Neil says, which is a good trait.
I like that.
right?
Yeah.
And so he meets Jod and immediately doesn't trust him.
Mhm.
right? I guess he has a good sense of
Yeah, I
smell.
think so. He's like, you don't smell like attendance.
Yeah. And anyway, their new friend opens up the path to the lair with a big like tentacle
Mhm.
arm smash move. And this we quickly cut back to ships dropping from hyperspace, and this is one of my favorite things. It reminds me of the beginning of the Battle of Scarif,
Oh, okay.
because there is a moment in that where we are with one of the cruisers or X-wing, I think, as they are dropping. You're with them in hyperspace, and they drop from hyperspace right into the Battle
Yeah.
of Scarif.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then you get the poof, like another ship coming in like right next to them, and it just does it for me. It's
It
just
looks-
like a
it
really
always looks
cool
cool.
visual, and like it sounds cool, so I'm
Yeah.
into it. I like that, and it like gives a sense of menace and like urgency
Yeah.
to the
It's
shot.
always just so impressive too, like to being able to see like the way you're in hyperspace and all of a sudden it's like bam, this huge planet's in front of you. Yeah,
exactly.
It's very cool.
And because you're shooting it from behind, you get that like almost first person
Yeah,
look.
yeah.
It's really cool. So yeah, really into that. In the layer, though, 33 warns about a maze of booby traps. Can't have pirates without
Of course
booby
not.
traps.
Yeah.
And pirate booty.
Yeah.
Boobies and
Boobies and booties. Yeah.
The two main B's of
Pirates,
piracy.
yeah.
Anyway, they find a decapitated skeleton. It looks like it was decapitated. Like, decapitated. Another solo Han Solo-esque section here. And then they are almost all decapitated, but turns out the laser beam is slightly too tall
Yeah.
for
The kids.
to not be
Thank
decapitated.
God. Yeah.
Not allowed to cut off kids' heads
No.
in anything,
No.
really. I would have liked it if like someone got like
Singed.
their hair singed
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
That would have been
That
fun.
is always yeah.
Again though, Fern is like all over Jod about like he can't be in the back, he can't be at the front.
Mhm.
Like she just does not trust him. Once again reminding them of their deal, which she does a third time, the least effective time at the end of the episode. Anyway, the guards are following the kids. I'm not sure how they got into the lair so quickly. And they find their own booby trap, which is instead of a spike pit, it's like a gravity reverse
Yeah,
spike
that's
pit
so
where you
cool.
it like lifts you into the spikes.
Yeah.
Which it is cool. You don't see it. You see that there's a skeleton up there, but you don't see it actually used on a fresh person because A, that would be
Well, yeah.
traumatizing, and B, the person who does get pulled into it gets shot first.
Yeah.
He turns around, finds a blaster shot in his belly as the pirates from Port Borgo are
Mhm.
there, right behind them, and they yell "Silmo!" Which is good. I just like they think they look so cool. The dude with like the thing on his
cyborg
face
thing, yeah.
and, the whole thing. Like, what are their names again? They've got
Beef
names.
and
Yeah, Beef and Gunter.
Gunter. I hate Gun. No, it's Gunther. No, Gunter.
Yeah, Jaleel White.
Yeah.
Like a real actor.
Maybe I hate that it's Gunter because it's too much like Gunther from Friends. He's like the barista with the white hair. I was like,
maybe.
I hate. It's not a pirate name. But
yeah, I mean,
Beef
I don't
is
know.
quite funny.
I feel like Gunter sounds like old and pirate.
Yeah.
Especially maybe if you're like a pirate ship cook or something.
Yeah, it's true. I
Uh,
don't think this guy's a cook, but
new sub.
oh,
So that's
hello.
cool. Thanks, Sticks Boys. Stick Boy 73. Sticks Boy.
Love to see it.
Yeah, thank you. And again, just for people, if you're still listening, we do record this typically live,
Yeah.
weekly, usually the day after the
Mhm.
episode premieres, usually around 8 o'clock
Yeah.
Central time. So, but the best way to find out when we're going live is just to subscribe, and you'll always get notified.
Mm-hmm.
Turn the little bell, click the little bell on YouTube and Twitch. You can find us on both. Search for Tower of Babel podcast on either. Okay. They get past the first booby trap, and they now find themselves in front of an acid pool
Mm-hmm.
and a riddle.
Love a
slash
riddle.
puzzle.
I love a good pirate
I love
riddle.
environmental puzzles, and I love
Yeah,
a riddle.
yeah.
And I love the line, "Who wants to dive in first?"
Yeah.
That's good.
Real
I
smart.
would be terrified about standing next. They're stand so close.
Yeah,
to it.
right. I like how KB's like, that's not water. Like immediately, like, good. Thank
Yeah.
God you guys have her there.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I guess that
Push
clearly
it,
there
kid.
there are other people who are not that smart.
Although-
because, again, all those
I
skeletons.
was like, SM33 has mentioned pools of acid multiple times already.
Yeah, he has.
So, you
That's
know.
a good point. It's like that's a real like
Yeah.
callback.
Yeah.
you know, a real
It's like the acid's still
Chekhov's
there.
acid here.
Chekhov's
Yeah.
acid. Yeah.
Okay, so the riddle is thus: all who enter paradise must make the greatest sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Not the most difficult riddle, but it does have a twist because I think, again, as the kids rightly assume, most people assume the greatest sacrifice is your life.
Yes. Yeah.
Which does all feel like a little bit of like a catch-22. How can I enter if I'm sacrificing my life?
Well, yeah.
Right. But as Jod rightly points out, you have a lot to learn about pirates, pointing, mean, etc.
You're pointing me.
The most important thing to a pirate is not their life,
No.
but their booty,
Mm-hmm.
their pirate
Treasure.
booty. Yes. So Jod, who I guess saved one, who knows, maybe
He's
a few
probably
extra
got a
credits.
few. Yeah.
Yeah. He hovers it again, using the force a lot just for
Mhm.
showiness. Hovers it in his palm. Maybe has it in his sleeve. Hard to say. He tosses it in, and this causes the acid pool to drain.
Mm-hmm.
How that works exactly is unclear, but it never really makes sense in any of those things.
Magic.
So
Yeah.
yeah, midichlorians.
Yeah. I don't know. There's also no explanation as to why the bones of all the skeletons are there, other than it looking cool.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are skeletons. No, like if it can dissolve the metal
Skin
instantly,
and metal.
Yeah, like you'd think you would dissolve the bones,
No.
but no.
It wouldn't look as cool.
But it is fun to see like this is what, like the 6th or 7th skeleton in the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like they haven't been skimping on skeletons, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Lots of them.
I feel like there's not enough skeletons these days, or they're way too serious.
Yeah. Well, I think skeletons are also very piratey too.
Yeah, 100%. Because I get it. Thinking of Uncharted 4,
always-
like there's so many skeletons.
There's always
And
skeletons.
they're usually dressed in their clothes
Mhm.
still, or holding their sword in some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, they enter this new. They enter the door, right? And inside the inner sanctum, and as they, by the way, as they enter, they're chased by the pirates. We
Mhm.
should mention that. You had this really great line from Jod. See, Wim, I told you, real adventure,
Hmm.
right? He's kind of like trying to like lift his spirits, but then almost gets shot
Yeah.
in the process. So they rush into the lair, and we get to see the inner sanctum. The music really swells here, and we really get the pirate theme come through.
Mm-hmm.
Bum 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 ba-dum bum bum ba-dum bum. And I love it. I think the music gets very bombastic.
Yeah.
And maybe the most we've actually heard.
Very
the pirate
jaunty.
theme. Yeah.
Very jaunty.
Chester Cobblepot Skeleton, says Sticks Boy.
Yeah.
I think that's a reference, but I don't recognize it. So I apologize
Yeah.
for letting you down. And it's completely filled with gold. Love a pirate den that's just covered in gold. Because like it's unclear
Yeah.
because it's unclear to me if like gold as we know it is valuable to them in Star Wars, or if it's just shorthand for us to
Yeah,
be like,
it- look,
we know that gold
yeah,
stuff is cool
yeah.
looking. Right. It's a little bit of
Oh,
both.
Chester Cobblepot is the penguin.
What?
Chester Copperpot. Oh, that's
Cobblepot skeleton. though.
Oh, I don't know. It in my phone just I put in Cobblepot and it came up Copperpot, which is the penguin. It just corrected itself.
Yeah, well, this whole thing, Penguin is his last name is Cobblepot, right? But he comes from a lot. It's a whole history.
Yeah.
You didn't watch the show?
No.
In HBO Max?
No, I don't have HBO
Very
Max.
good. It's a Goonies reference.
Oh, I see. Yes. It's been too long
Which
since I've
makes
seen
sense
Goonies.
because this whole show is a
yeah,
Goonies
it
reference.
feels like it's the Goonies. Yeah.
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 Goonies in space, which like
Space Goonies.
I try not to like go into full like critic mode when I'm just talking to regular people about like, oh, I'm watching this new thing. Oh, what did you think?
Mhm.
Right? I don't try to be like, I don't get like, I try not to, because I think it comes off as maybe like a little pretentious potentially, and I don't like being judged that way. But so when it comes to this show, I'd say you should be watching Skeleton Crew. It's like Goonies in space. And
Yeah.
you're like, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if it's created any more viewers, but again, we want to drive viewership to Skeleton
Yeah.
Crew because Star Wars
It's
needs
great,
the help
yeah.
right now.
We're having a good time. So
Yeah, I'm enjoying this a
Yeah.
lot. This is a great episode.
yeah,
I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's
it's
like,
up there. Yeah.
I think it's close. I think
I do
if-
just love treasures and traps and.
Episode 2 is still really high on my list,
Mm-hmm.
but this is so much more like we're already so much further into it.
Yeah.
The characters are more established. Jod is involved. We got a lightsaber. I mean, this
Mhm.
probably is
Like the slapstick, everything is just
Yeah.
very fun.
the tone tone is modulated. It comes and goes in between silly and serious.
Mhm.
And I think in the same way that again like Empire Strikes Back can do,
Yeah.
right? So I think I think this was probably my favorite episode of the season so far. Anyway, so we get a classic shot, cliched one might say, of Wim going to grab a piece of treasure and grabbing his hand. Don't touch anything.
Yeah.
He's like, do you think what does he call it? The
The
plunder.
plunder,
is
yeah.
booby trapped.
So
Yeah.
good.
And he's like 100%.
Yeah.
The
It's like,
plunder
yeah,
is definitely
don't
booby
touch
trapped.
anything because, well, I mean, maybe not all of it, but lots of it is
yeah.
probably booby trapped. Yeah.
And so they spread out to look for a data port, which is probably like, what's it look like? I don't know. It's probably disguised
Yeah.
to not look like a data port. So there's lots of Easter eggs here, and again, we don't have time to get into that. But obviously the biggest one that plays into the plot is the lightsaber.
Yes. Yeah.
That seems to be like a High Republic.
It looks High
design.
Republic to me because it's
Yeah.
like gold
It's
and white.
White and gold.
Yeah.
And it's got those like longer pieces that stick out
The top. Yeah. Yeah.
So I will trust that other people on the internet will be better at finding and identifying what are potentially like
Oh, all
larger-
the other things in that
Yeah,
room.
in the
There's
room.
so yeah. There's
like
for
what's
sure.
that weird giant head thing? Was that like
The
was
orb?
was that a throne?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like a face, and then
Yeah.
there's also a big white orb.
Yeah, that like white and yellow orb or something
Yeah.
was neat. But
Uh,
there's a lot of things.
there's like a weird statue of like
Oh, it's like an elephant statue. It looks like
it looks like a not a Buddha, but a
I can't remember what it's called.
no. I was gonna say Khonshu, but that's in the Marvel reference.
Oh,
That's
I was
not
like, is that the one they talk about in The Simpsons? But Ganju?
Khonshu is like an Egyptian god
Yeah.
from Moon Knight.
Yeah, it looks like something from like Indian culture, like the
Yeah,
like
it
the
does.
elephant and everything. But yeah, there's so many cool things.
But also, it's like clearly isn't that.
No, it's not.
Right?
It's
but this
just-
is another place where you would see like an Indiana Jones reference.
Yes,
for sure.
yeah, I guarantee. There's probably a small one somewhere.
Yeah. Maybe it's Short Round's little round hat
Mhm,
in
yeah.
there somewhere. Dr. Jones. So the pirates are working. They're trying to get into the room. You hear them like rummaging around outside. I kind of like that we never see them out there. I like that as a choice for this episode. We stick with the main cast. There's important shit going
Yeah.
on here. So Neil finds a clue. Fucking Neil.
Yeah,
Beauty.
yeah.
Neil's such
Clutch
a beauty.
coming in clutch.
Coming in clutch. Is this a thing? He says?
Yeah,
Identifying the most Ganesh. Is that maybe what
Ganesh.
you're thinking of?
Yes, that
Yeah,
is what I
okay.
was thinking of. Yes,
Ganesh. I'm sure we sound insensitive.
I
and
know,
cruel, but
I-
yeah, it's okay.
we're
We didn't
just
mean it.
tired and stupid.
Yeah, and Catholic.
Yeah,
Lame. Boo.
I'm not Catholic.
Catholic.
Yeah, I was like
But like only by birth.
only by birth. Yeah,
So anyway, Neil finds a clue. A roast that looks fresh on a table of rotten food.
hmm
Right? And again, this is straight, I swear to God, straight out of Uncharted 4. There's like a whole rotten table, and then like they're holding a note, and there's like a whole thing, and they're like the
Oh.
chalices are poisoned, and it's like a whole thing.
okay.
Anyway, he also in the process finds another booby trap. And I love the way that they shot this because it's so cool, or the way it executes it, because Neil leans on the chair, and at the exact moment, Jod kind of lifts him up to try to help him reach the roast.
Right, right.
And then the chair falls away right as he's like holding it.
Yeah.
And it looks like a bottomless pit, and like the way it just like the chair just like poof, falls away, and then
Yeah.
clearly it reminds me of Austin Powers and like the little like the chairs with the trapdoors.
Oh
underneath
yeah.
that he
There's
has.
like fire shoots out of
Right,
them.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm very badly burned, but I'm still alive. If someone could just come open the door, I'll be okay. Oh, thank goodness you're here. Gunshot. Oh,
Yeah.
you shot me. You shot me in the leg.
Yeah.
it's so funny. Man, those movies are so good. Everyone's after me, Lucky Charms. Why do people keep laughing at me when I say
They're
that?
very hit and miss for me.
Yeah. You don't like the Austin Powers
I like-
movies? Those might be up there with the.
I like certain parts, but
Dumb and Dumber, Austin Powers, and Ace Ventura are like, you know, the Mount Rushmore.
I'm very
comedies.
specific with my Jim Carrey content and what I can tolerate and what I can't.
I'm guessing you're not a fan of the Cable Guy.
I don't mind the Cable Guy, and I like the Grinch, and I don't know. There's just certain ones like I don't really like the Mask, and I don't like Liar
like The Mask
Liar is
either.
really bad.
You think Liar Liar is
I
bad.
don't like it.
What about Me, Myself, and Irene? That one my parents rented.
Oh,
once
that's
'cause
what-
they had
that's
Jim
the one I
Carrey
was
in it,
thinking
and
of.
There's so much swearing. It's so funny. My parents didn't let us watch it.
I think that's the one I'm
like
thinking of. I feel like when he's too much Jim Carrey.
What about
Takes me out of it.
What about Bruce Almighty? Pretty good one.
Yeah, I'm fine with that one. I don't know. I just feel like there's like I don't know.
Classic comedy movie.
Yeah.
Six Boys understands.
There's certain
Yeah.
ones that I like. There's just some where I'm like, I don't have the patience for this right now. And Pet Detective is up there.
The most important thing about you need to know about the Austin Powers movie is that it is the their ability to create 3 movies,
It's crazy.
2 sequels, and they're all equally hilarious.
They are. That is true.
Is like so impressive to me because there's so many comedy sequels that suck, including Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah.
But I like that movie. It's fine.
Adam has never seen it because he doesn't want to ruin Dumb and Dumber
It's
for
just
him.
fun to hang out with the characters.
Yeah, fair enough.
And but it obviously doesn't have the same impact.
No.
But Ace Ventura 1, 2, sorry, Ace Ventura 2. My take is that the second one is funnier. But no, the Austin Powers 1, 2, and 3 are all three are funny, but in unique each individual ways. 2 repeats a lot of jokes. Fair enough. 3 is very unique, but there's like just enough new stuff in each one, and they keep bringing in like great actors into it to make like fill-in roles. It's so fun.
I have to be in a certain mood for it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, get high as a kite.
Yeah, that's
Tell me
probably
they're not
fine.
funny.
I just fall asleep.
Yeah, I mean that's what they're kind of what it is for. I feel like it's like they should just rename all cannabis stores into just like home
Sleepy
rentals.
times. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like I swear most people that's all they use them for.
Yeah.
Okay. Where was I? Okay, they find the roast, find the booby trap. They end up opening Captain's log, and Jod orders 33 to access it.
Mm-hmm.
Fern gives the go-ahead. Right. It's a quick reminder that Fern's still in charge, even
Yes.
though Jod is very much
Leading.
taking initiative here. 33 finds the coordinates to Ad-Atten, and we get this big musical swelling moment of like, yay, we did it. We found our way home, right? And then Jod has 33 refill the chamber of the door with acid, and then we hear the pirates running away.
Going,
It's really funny.
Acid. Scream.
Ow. Right, and Silver!
Yeah.
Which is like...
See, at first, on my first watch, I thought he killed them all. And I was like,
I-
whoa.
I-
But then on the
man.
second watch, I was like, okay, maybe not. I guess their like feet got burned. They got a little like
Yeah.
singed, not necessarily
yeah.
dead. Maybe
Yeah.
a couple died, but
Maybe.
yeah.
They wouldn't. I wouldn't put it past the pirates to like sacrifice one to save them.
Oh yeah, easy. But
So the problem is, I guess, like most secret layers have a secret exit, so they'll
Yes.
probably get their way
Yes.
out that way. But like, what's their plan? To just like wait around and try to figure out the thing on their own, or like what's
yeah.
the plan? there?
Well, I don't know. Maybe 33. They can figure it out through him or through this like data.
Yeah, like if I was them, I would just go and like guard the ship now.
Yeah.
Like if they can't escape without the ship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
Anyway, Jod asks if the treasure is real. This is where his like greed really starts like
Mhm.
seeping in. And 33 starts a message that's played from Captain Renaud himself, sitting in his throne. But it's distorted in such a way that we can't see the face of this person. They're wearing a big pirate hat.
I feel like you can
pirate
see hair,
costume.
like a little bit.
Yeah, it's
It
really
looks like
long.
there's like long hair.
I
But
think it's a woman.
no,
I think it's a woman
I don't think it's
pirate.
a woman. I just think they have long hair.
They just have long pirate hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe white. Look kind of white or gray.
Maybe. I mean, it's hard to tell. It looked like it was like in black and white.
Yeah, it was
the
kind of
whole
like
thing.
fuzzy and everything,
Yeah.
but
Because like sometimes, stuff changes depending on what you need from the plot.
That's true.
In Star Wars, but like the holograms can sometimes be mostly blue, but sometimes they can
Right.
be mostly like they can be colorful enough to look real,
Yeah.
like Snoke, giant Snoke did
Yeah.
in Episode
Yeah.
7, right?
that's the thing.
So-
Sometimes they're huge, sometimes they're small,
Right.
and yeah, I've seen them red, or sometimes
Yeah.
they're wispy, like in
Right.
Ahsoka.
Oh, yeah.
Those ones
yeah,
are
that's
cool.
like different technology.
Yeah, so it's like
So like
there's no rhyme or
like,
reason to them.
This is like how and it's still this is the thing that really like irks me because we don't have the information yet. I don't know if we'll get it.
Yeah.
But like, how old is the Onyx Cinder? How
Yeah.
old was this mission to add?
True.
Are we talking hundreds of years or thousands of years, or only like
Good point.
75 years?
Good
like,
point. Maybe
I
it's
wanna
only
know.
been 20 years.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just like it's that legend status, so I have to imagine it's been around longer than that.
Yeah.
Right. But like if you consider it in like contemporary pirate times, if there was or not contemporary, but like the analogy to like the height of the piracy in like the 18th century, then all that stuff happened relatively quickly. We think of like the height of like the golden age of piracy,
Right.
and that all took place over like 25, 30 years, not that long, relatively speaking,
Right.
right? So is this all like taking place recently? I just don't understand. Like the ship
Yeah.
looks really old, but like the technology, and this is the other thing that's always annoying me with Star Wars. It's like technology seems
It's
to be
all
the
over
same
the
all
place.
the time.
Yeah, the same, but it's also all over the place. It just depends on how old the ship is, right? So.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then Stick says the voice sounded like Dax Jexter.
Oh yeah, the
Clone-
cook, the
cook from Clone
yeah, the
Wars.
Obi-Wan's buddy there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the dude from the
We were joking that it sounded like Captain Barbosa or
Yeah.
Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob.
Well, because he's just doing a pirate.
Yeah, he's
voice,
just a
so-
pirate voice. We're like, how
And
cool
Mr.
would it be
Krabs
if
is
it was
doing
the voice actor from?
Yeah, it would be if Jeffrey Rush was there.
Yeah.
Like, that would, I mean, it would be like certainly a,
Yeah.
like an Easter
We
egg,
tried to look it
right?
up, but there was no credit for that voice yet. So
Yeah, because I think it's going to be a
Yeah.
surprise. The guess is that character's still alive. But again, the other question is like, are they in like cryo storage? Like how or is it like
They're
it's only been
hiding
so,
on
but again, it was
Atten.
so old that the ship was buried in like dirt and like trees were growing out.
yeah, it's true.
So and they were full on skeletons. So it's got to be like
At least 20 years,
at least I guess
20,
I don't
30.
know.
Yeah.
Anyway, the message is thus. Quote, I have the ship clad in armor and ready to go, but my crew still doubts that Atten is real. I need hands to seize the treasure. No one knows it's the last Old Republic mint.
Mm.
This, by the way, I think the writing's been really good on the show.
Mhm.
But this like personal log by this like scary pirate is kind of lame.
Yeah, you think?
It's like, hey, here's this problem I have. Oh, my crew doesn't trust me, and the only thing that they don't know, and I'm only telling it right here, right now, secretly, so nobody knows, is that it's the last Republic.
But I
mint.
love a captain's log or a pirate's log. I like that.
Yeah,
I think they're cool. I don't know.
I do like a captain's
And
log. I also do.
It does
but it's
seem like, and it's
just very.
it's a,
convenient.
well, yeah, it's very convenient, but it does seem like it's a thing that captains do on these ships, on starships, you know.
It's true.
So to me, I don't think it breaks too much lore in terms of
I
it's like a
love
little
that-
diary.
Have you ever watched any of Lower Decks, the Star Trek
Oh
show?
no!
It's the animated. It's an animated Star Trek show. It's like a comedy.
Right?
broadly
Yes, I
speaking.
remember you talking about it
It's
before.
so funny. And there'll be moments where instead of doing captain's log, they do like first mate's log or like
Yeah.
ensign's log or whatever, and then you get that like classic Star Trek moment where it's like seeing the ship flying around, and you're like ensign's log, stardate, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah, and it's like they're telling some dumb story.
Telling some
That's
dumb
like
story.
completely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Or
like that.
The first mate or first, that's good. I don't think they're called first mate in Star Trek. I think that's wrong.
Oh
Number
yeah, I
one.
don't know.
Okay. So again, very convenient message, but it does the job. Jod stops the message again with this like, I've heard enough. I don't need to hear anymore. I don't need the kids to know anymore. And then kind of chews on the news. Like literally, like his mouth is like
Yeah,
chewing.
yeah,
And the kids are like, confused at first because they don't know what a mint is, but then Fern clears that up, and then they start to understand kind of the truth behind the whole myth of Ad Ad.
right. Yeah,
Which is, and I love this line from Neil. So he's so innocent.
yeah.
Wow, I guess it is the planet of eternal
Yeah.
treasure.
You just print so much money.
You get infinite money.
Yeah,
And so what's interesting, I guess, the little clue here is that even the captain in this message says it's the last old Republic.
Old Republic mint.
So
Yeah,
I think we're still talking about the old
Mhm.
Republic. We're not talking about the Republic of the Clone Wars era, but the older Republic.
Yeah.
From older times.
Yeah.
But confusingly has the same.
well, it's not the Galactic Republic.
Well, it wouldn't have been called the Old Republic at the time.
No, just called the Republic.
They were just been called the Republic, and then it was also just called the Republic
Yeah,
later. So it's just it's confusing.
Yeah,
And then at the very least, after the Galactic Civil War, they call themselves
the New Republic. Yeah,
Just to be very clear, right?
yeah,
This is New York,
yeah.
not Old York. You know.
I mean, in my Star Wars game that I play, they do differentiate it between Galactic Republic and Old Republic. Those are two different like character
But is
sets
that an
you can have.
in-canon explanation,
I don't
or
know.
is that a just
It's a
like
differential.
clarity of the
I think it's
game?
just a clarity thing. Like it's usually the one, like the Clone Wars one, is like the Galactic Republic is.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
So Fern, sensing that her leverage is slipping away here, reminds Jod that they had a deal.
Mm-hmm.
The kids wait as he doesn't answer,
Yeah.
which is usually a bad
Then you get
sign.
that feeling. You're like, well, he's turning heel.
Yeah, he turns slowly, thinking, still not answering.
Yeah.
And the only thing he says, and he speaks to 33 when he says it, that he invokes his right
Mhm.
to challenge the captain. And I love this line from 33. I'm sorry, Captain. I must follow the pirate's
Yeah.
code. You gotta follow the pirate's code.
You
I
gotta.
understand that. I understand. You gotta. Everyone has to have a code,
Mhm.
something to live by, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me
Especially
personally,
a droid.
me personally, I don't have a
No,
code.
no, none.
I live with a man of no
Mm.
code, right? Yeah. Certainly not the Catholic one.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
No.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, he walks up to Fern, and he encourages her to yield. He said, "Listen, we don't have to fight. Just yield,
Yeah.
and I won't have to." He says, "I won't have to hurt you."
Yeah.
So I know you're saying this like he was kind of trying to be nice about it, but he's very menacing.
He is.
And the
he
music
is.
adds a lot to this.
It
as
it
it's
does.
Also quite menacing.
I also do love just the little bit about the. Because before, when 33 talks about this with just the kids, he's like, "Oh, it's a
Right.
fight to the death." He like
Right.
makes it sound like it has to be a fight to the death because usually that's how the
Yes.
pirates do it, right?
Yes.
But then here, like John comes in, he's like you can yield, like he's just like you just have to yield because the kids are like a fight to the death. Like at first, I
Right.
think they're like he's gonna kill her. It's like no, you can yield. It's fine.
Well, I mean, I mean, the thing is, I guess it's like to 33. You could have gone one way where he interprets it as
Yeah.
like it's not over until
Someone's
the other
dead.
one is dead.
Yeah, yeah. Because
But-
usually that's how pirates are gonna do it.
Right.
But, yeah, he's like yeah,
or make them walk the plank.
but yeah.
Uh,
But it is sad. You can see they're like so scared.
well, not that they're mad. They're just disappointed.
Yeah, they're sad. There's like you see KB's. They got a tear.
Does she have a tear?
Yeah, she does.
Oh, she's like, oh no, it's finally happening. He's gonna kill us.
Yeah.
Right. And like, it's like to Fern, it's like I fucking knew it.
Yeah. She's like, shouldn't have
You
trust
know?
this guy.
Where it's like where everyone else like they had
Yeah.
come around. KB's like, well, he's got us this far.
Yeah,
and
Neil.
Niels gave him a big hug last week.
Yeah. He's like, now
Right,
you're
and-
threatening my friend with a knife.
Right, and you had this, and then you had this like heart to heart with
Wim, yeah.
right? Gave him bad advice, but the, the intention were good,
Yeah.
right? And then at the first sign of treasure, he throws him on
Yeah.
the bus, and so it's like, maybe for the kids, it's a good lesson, a good hard lesson, assuming they don't die.
Yeah.
That like, the world is a cruel, and I mean they kind of were already learning that, but this is like that really nails it
Yeah, you
home.
can't trust pirates ever.
You're right. You can never, because otherwise they become the captain.
Yeah.
I'm the captain.
Yeah, I'm the captain now.
Yeah, that's what John was
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
thinking. Anyway, so she tries to fight back. She uses like a piece of treasure as a weapon, but he uses the force again to like prevent her from hitting him
Yeah,
with it,
it's
like
like-
with a club.
It's like, yeah, sorry, girl, you don't. Yeah.
He's not really well matched up. Even if he wasn't force
Yeah,
powerful,
he's a
in any
grown
way,
man.
Like he'd still could.
You are a little girl.
You are a small. Like
Yeah.
like less than half his weight
Mhm.
probably.
Yeah.
Right? And anyway, he grabs her, holds her at knife point. It's the same knife he stole back from earlier.
Mhm.
And her response is, and this is a very like innocent perspective, which is you're a grown up, you can't fight us, we're just
Yeah,
kids.
it's so
not fair.
sad. Yeah.
It's not fair.
Mhm.
And you know what? It isn't fair.
No, not a fair fight.
And I'm not one of those people that's going to be coming out here and being like, well, you know what, life isn't fair.
Yeah.
Because I think that sentiment, like that lack of compassion, is
Well, yeah.
low, like way often, like thrown around way too often.
Yeah. Yeah.
In our
It
world,
is. It is.
right? Sure, life isn't fair, but that doesn't mean that you as an individual and we as a society can't work
Yeah.
to bring more fairness
Yeah.
into the world.
Doesn't mean you should stomp all over everybody and like,
Right,
be a
but it's
dick.
often used as an excuse of
Yeah.
like when someone's abusing you or taking advantage
Yeah.
of you,
Like, well, life's not
or
fair.
you've been taken advantage of. It's like, well, you should know better because people suck.
Yeah.
That's like the lesson, and it's like he just feels so cynical, and I don't really like it.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway, in this case, it's like, you would think something like that from Fern might get through to him, but again, no, he's made up his
No.
mind. And so she does eventually yield. But before that happens, Wim, he like building up his like he's like kind of trying to build up his
Courage.
nerve,
Yeah.
to because he obviously grabbed the lightsaber
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Right? Even though he knew not to touch anything.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky he didn't lose an arm in the process, right? And we get this big musical swelling moment. This is kind of like his like broom boy moment, right? Anyone can be a Jedi,
Yeah.
yada yada yada. And I literally was thinking, like, I really hope he's not holding it upside
Yeah. Oh, really?
down. Like I was like, yeah, because like if you were holding it like this, it could go right into
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
you, right? And so I was worried for him because I was like, he's never hold it. He doesn't know how a lightsaber
Yeah.
works. To hold or to ignite a lightsaber would be one of the most dangerous things.
Yeah, you
anyone
don't
can
really
do.
know what end it's gonna necessarily, especially
Right.
where you don't. I mean, it depends on the trigger.
I mean, if it shouldn't be hard to figure out
Yeah.
if you're like familiar with
Yeah.
one. And we're only familiar with one by what we've seen in Star
Yes,
Wars. Like, if you were a
yes.
Star Wars person, you might not.
But you don't
see
know,
most
like,
people.
you don't know where the on switch is, but yeah.
Right. But it's like again, it's like even if in real life you had a lightsaber, having one on it would be one. It's like clearly a health and safety
Yeah.
violation, right?
Yeah.
It's just asking for someone to call Wimmis or
Yeah,
whatever.
absolutely.
Okay, so Wim comes out. We get this big moment with the music, and I was like, oh no, this is not going to go well. And even Jod is like, careful, Wim. This isn't one of your stories.
Yeah.
Like, this is real. You can't.
Oh, you could
shouldn't
probably
mess
also
around.
look at him and be like, he's probably like, you can probably see you're holding that thing upside down.
Yeah. Right. And he's like, anyway, he goes to ignite it and then drops it immediately.
It like shoots
because
into the ground.
It shoots into the ground, and he's lucky he didn't lose a foot.
Yeah.
He's seriously lucky he didn't hurt himself in any way. Never mind, like a significant way. It's cool watching it like turn off and like cut the floor as it
Yeah, it like
drops
shoots away. Apparently, there's a lot of memes going around about like people just making ones about saying like, oh, like how I think I would look like with a lightsaber, but like how I would actually look. And it's like poof, and it just yeah. Just like I shot it into the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, and Stick's boy says someone call OSHA.
Yeah,
the
OSHA,
American
yes,
version of
yes.
Wimmis, yeah. All right, so he almost loses a foot, lucky not to, and then like goes and hides behind that chair, which I remember thinking like, why the hell are these kids hanging out next to this booby trap? It makes no
Yeah.
sense. They all saw it. But I guess maybe you're not thinking clearly when
No.
in that scenario. With that, Fern yields, and 33 begins working for Captain Jod.
Mm-hmm.
And he has 33 take them as prisoners under the pretenses of mutinous intent against the captain. Thought crimes.
Thought crimes.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. And Wim uses the booby trap to like help him and all of his friends escape
Yeah.
before 33 can grab them.
Yeah. It's like you don't know where you're
and
going.
He doesn't know where they're going, and the chances of it not ending in death are so
So low. Yeah.
Like, it could be spikes, it could be a bottomless pit. We've seen a lot of those.
Could be acid.
Could be definitely there's proof of acid already.
Could be a rancor.
Could be a
Rancor pit.
Could be just a really far fall and you just
Yeah.
land and break all your bones.
Yeah.
It could just like shoot out you off the side of the mountain.
Yeah. Like we
you
don't know.
There's just so many things, and obviously none of those things are going to happen.
No, it's just
But
gonna
I
be a
think
pit. But
What's annoying to me is that like it's clearly a stupid idea.
yeah. But
It's
I
clearly
think that's
really dumb.
that is Wim's whole thing though. Like he's very impulsive. He just does shit, and it's
Yeah, but he could have just killed all these
Yeah.
people.
that's how he goes.
And he's going to
He's the reason that the ship started because he pushes the button hole to begin with.
He's the whole reason they're on their mission.
He does a lot of this shit.
Actually, they do blame him.
Yeah, they do.
But it's not entirely his fault.
No.
It's mostly his
No.
fault, as we talked about in the first episode. Mostly his fault. Okay, so they drop down this thing. Jod looks at it like he's surprised that he did that, but also kind of like I think relieved that he doesn't have to deal with these kids anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's like a one problem
He's
that he
like,
doesn't
"Alright."
have to deal with
Yeah.
now. He doesn't have to figure out a way to escape while having kids as a prisoner.
Yeah, kids in tow.
Right.
Yeah.
He can now just I genuinely think he's gone like full greedy, as 33 mentions, he's like with the treasure so close, the first mate went mad with greed.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like an exact reenactment of that moment where in this case Jod, the first mate to Captain Fern, goes mad with greed and
Yeah.
commits mutiny.
Yeah.
So I genuinely think he's pleased. I don't think he's worried about these kids at all
No.
at this point. And then he uses the Force to grab the lightsaber and ignites it as we cut to credits. which is still pretty cool way to end. What do you make of him now having a lightsaber?
Ooh, I don't know. I like it. I was like, okay, so maybe I do want to see like how well he can wield this thing. Like, has he ever used a lightsaber? Was his training pre-training with lightsabers,
They seem to
or
start training with lightsabers
pretty young? But I mean, like, if he was just a youngling or a
Dude,
you
I was
know.
in that room with Yoda.
yeah,
where
just
they're
like do like whatever. You can't use that thing any better than some kids can. But I'm excited to see if he's got any skills with it.
It certainly is cool idea to have a pirate captain with a
Yeah,
lightsaber.
right. It is cool, and it's
They got us there.
yeah, it
Not
is
much we
very
can do
cool.
about that.
I know, right?
But
It's
he's a bad guy. Blue lightsaber, so that's
Mhm.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Traditionalist in that way, right? First lightsaber we ever saw was blue.
Right.
So I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know what happens from here. Obviously,
Yeah, I
again, I
mean-
have to assume the kids aren't dead,
No.
and that Jod is
Yeah.
now equipped with a lightsaber and the whereabouts of
Ad-Atin,
I
yeah.
think he's going to try to make a deal with the pirates. And
Oh
try to take
yeah,
back
and be
his
like, I
command.
know. Yeah, that's
Listen,
true.
you guys come with me right now. We go to Ad-Atin.
Yeah.
We cut this werewolf right out of the deal. He doesn't have to know about it.
Yeah. Right.
And I become a captain again.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like it, I'll cut you in half.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll see. The kids got to get out of there too, so probably stow away somewhere.
Do you think they stow away on the ship?
Probably.
That's a classic kid
It is
thing
like
to
a
do.
classic Star Wars thing too, is stowing away and but
Yeah, and Stixboy mentions like
who's
lightsaber
yeah,
gonna be.
that's
I
obviously
think-
part of it as well. But
Yeah, we mentioned this at the top of the episode, but we think that it's a High Republic.
yeah,
lightsaber.
it looks from what I've seen of High Republic,
gold
the gold and the
trim.
white and
But again, then if it is a High Republic lightsaber, it might give us a hint at how old
yeah, the pirate layer
booty
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could be collecting that over.
Yeah, it's true. It could have been a relic already.
Yeah, it could have been exactly like you could collect that from anywhere. So
The thing I find interesting about lightsabers in the Star Wars galaxy
mhm.
is that the only people who really seem to be interested in them are Jedi
yeah,
and Sith.
Ah.
Everyone else gets like people see them and they look at them and they're like,
yeah.
or like unless they understand
What
or
it
have some
is.
connection to
I've seen it before.
the Jedi, right? Like
There
that,
are-
Maz Kanata, she like saves the original Anakin Skywalker one and stuff. But like a
Yeah.
lot of the time, it's just like they're like you'll see them being like looking through junk and they're like just be like
Yeah, I think it's
thrown
because like a lot of people maybe don't necessarily
around, know what they look
know what they look like. But there is a market for them because there's like a whole arc in Clone Wars where Ahsoka's gets stolen by like a pickpocket thief because they're
Right.
worth a lot of money on the black market, basically, like as a Jedi weapon, right? So, yeah, I think there is a market for them. But
yeah, it is funny where it's like we as viewers think that lightsabers are the coolest thing ever.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, yeah, we got another show with lightsabers in it, but it did get to episode 5 before we had a lightsaber.
Yeah.
So I think you got to give them credit for that.
I also feel like a little bit with lightsabers, like you have to have the skill to use them because it basically is a sword, and it's like like a blaster is probably gonna work a lot better for most people than
Right,
a
as,
light sword, right? So
as Han says, right? Nothing like a good blaster on your hip.
yeah,
You know?
it's faster,
Right.
less civilized though,
So uncivilized.
way less civilized.
Why would Obi-Wan like throws it away like it's ugh.
Yeah,
After exploding Grievous's heart? What a moment.
yeah,
Kenobi.
good stuff, good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who's joined us live today, including Stix
Yeah.
Boy.
Love having people in the
73.
chat.
New sub. We're always looking for a few new listeners, so spread the word. Head over to our website, towerbabble.ca, to find everything that we do, including our kind of our main show, the Tower of Babel podcast, which usually gets a little bit of hits the back burner during Star Wars seasons. We'll be back next week. Although again, I think episode 6 is on New Year's Eve. I think
Yeah, but New Year's Day is like, whatever.
that's true.
I don't
I'll
care
be
about
out at
New
the
Year's Day.
cabin, I think.
Well, we'll do a remote
but
one.
we might be able to do a remote one. That usually means we can't do it live because they don't have the bandwidth.
Right out there.
do it.
Yeah, that's fine.
But again, if you're expecting a live show, you just want to hear what we're talking about, I would subscribe to us on whatever your favorite podcatcher of choice is, Spotify or
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts or whatever. And again, search for Small Screen Star Wars or Tower of Babel podcast. Either one will get you this feed because it goes into both. Yeah. Again, thank you for listening, and we will be back next week with more Skeleton Crew. Until then, may the Force be with you.